It's server time, episode 37. We have a very special guest with us today. We have Scrawny. You may know him for his mustache, and you may know him because he's on every goddamn Blast broadcast at the end of the day, closing things out strong. So welcome, Scrawny. Glad to have you back. Repeat guest, by the way.
Yeah, damn right, man. February 2021 was the last time. I went back, checked it today. 37 episodes, guys. You should be proud of that.
I think it's a milestone that nobody really celebrates, the big 3-7, but that's how we call it in my household, the big 3-7. Yeah. You know, you're probably like a little over a third way dead. So
has there been other repeat guests, or have you guys run through the circuit?
I think the most famous repeat guest has been Yakindar, because we just got him for back-to-back episodes one time.
Okay.
But other than that, I don't think we really do.
By the way.
Is Mick's microphone a little weird for you guys?
Oh,
yeah, a little bit.
I think it was just because multiple people were talking at the same time, and that destroys Discord. Discord still hasn't figured out how to produce audio from multiple sources at the same time. I'm sorry, guys. It's too hard.
Okay,
TeamSpeak solved it years ago, but it's too hard.
Well, I just wanted to say that we were on that bandwagon before everyone else, which we should be proud of.
The Kinder bandwagon, yeah. That's true. That's true. He was like a fan favorite.
You know, I actually have something that weighs on me pretty often, and it's because of Yakinder, and it's actually that, you know, I still owe each and every one of you guys a Virtus Pro jersey from the last time I was on this show.
Where is my fucking jersey?
Dude, yeah, I was curious if you guys still want them. Just let me know.
Well, I don't think we can we're not legally allowed to order Virtus Pro jerseys, so you're gonna have to.
I'll take a liquid jersey.
Yeah, you're gonna have to send us a liquid Kindar.
Yeah,
liquid Kindar. Yeah,
that's been on my. I had to get that off my chest early because I'm a fraud and I never followed through.
You know, I completely forgot about that. So thanks for reminding us all of the free jersey that we're owed.
Excellent.
My God, we need that. We actually need Yakinder. If we got Yakinder liquid jerseys, that'd be great because we could all wear the jerseys and then we'd like hit our chests together and we say Yakinda forever. Like,
God. Jesus.
All right.
That one I'm gonna use on like whatever I think the last game Liquid's gonna play at the major. I'm actually gonna use that same joke. Yakinda forever.
All right, you guys heard it here first.
Yeah. Don't spoil. No spoilers, guys. Okay. Okay, let's talk about the major. The one that has been referenced, the one that's in Rio, the one that people say, by people I mean ESL, say is going to be the biggest major of all time. But I think there's actually a real chance for that. Like, okay, I do want to bring that up. Do you guys think that this is in some way going to be the biggest major of all time? Like, what does that even mean to you guys?
Well, biggest major, obviously you'd think biggest view counts, and Brazilian teams, when they are playing, usually pull ridiculous view counts. A lot of that is due to Galas, and the fact that he's going to be prominently featured here means that even though I personally don't even think a single Brazilian team is going to make playoffs at this event, it still probably will bump up viewership just based on the fact that you have both English-speaking broadcasts and the very popular, like, it's in Rio, Brazilian, Portuguese-speaking broadcast. So I feel like that alone is probably going to bump up the numbers. Some people were disputing that. I brought that up on the off-angle episode with Kassad, saying like it's most likely this will be the highest number view count, and that's irrespective of who's playing, especially if a Brazilian team does manage to fluke their way to playoffs. That's going to be huge. And then on top of that, you get the idea that like the next major in the line, you know, people have been talking about the TI in Dota and how it's like, oh, the prize pool's down. I kind of feel like something similar is going to happen with the view counts in this time around. It's like this one will be the peak, and then we'll go down for the next one, and then hopefully we can build back up for after. That being said, the Paris major for Blast might still pull numbers. I just feel like it's going to be less than this. This should pop, at least for viewer numbers.
I actually think the viewership numbers will be lower for this major because you have these watch parties with Gallus like doing it live in front of the stadium. You're gonna have a lot of the Brazilian CS fans going to those. You're gonna have them already in the audience at the actual event. That will by nature drop viewership just because you're not gonna have those fans online watching it. So like it's statistically, to me that's like probably 100,000 people who aren't gonna be in the viewer list minimum, because
I think there's 100,000 people that are between
the main event and the Gallus like outdoor thing, and they're also doing the fan fest. Like, isn't that like a giant outdoor crowd essentially?
And you're also talking about like over the whole event, right? It's over the
Yeah,
whole
maybe
event.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100,000 people.
Yeah,
would
maybe
be
not 100K.
Fucking insane, man.
Yeah.
Maybe
Fair
like over a
ups.
couple. That sounds like what PGL did with their viewership. You know, where it's like I feel like they like put the days, but you know, you combine the days, maybe 100,000. But I look at ESL. I look at this one, dude. I think the one claim that they can make it being the biggest major is just the fact that they put a crowd in front of the first stage.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
That is what
exactly.
makes this the biggest major because it's the long, you know, and in a cool way, I think that legitimizes what has always been this question where it's like, is the challenger stage really a part of the major? You know, when it first was introduced, we kind of like, we wanted to keep it at bay. But I mean, if you put a crowd on top of that segment, then to me, this is major from day one to the end.
I mean, I definitely think it's possible that's going to be, especially from like a crowd perspective, not just in terms of like the amount of people that are there, which I think is going to be pretty consistently pretty high for each stage, just because that's how Brazil is. But also just for each stage, like the crowd, I think is going to be pretty interactive and like kind of there for the matches. Whereas like I'm sure there's been other majors and other events where there might even be like a decent amount of people there, but you know the crowd isn't like super active and it's super loud. Whereas I think you're going to get like a really active, like a lot of people for each stage, which is always just making the games a lot more fun to watch.
Okay. I actually think that one thing that should help this is that the highest viewership numbers for CSGO have been at the I think it was the Stockholm Major for PGL, and it was pretty high at Antwerp. I think the Antwerp one, if I'm not mistaken, I think it had higher viewership numbers than E-League Boston, which was previously the record holder for CSGO. So one thing that should be nice for ESL is that I think the production value is going to be higher than PGL's, and I think that actually leads to higher viewership retention, which in turn generally like just kind of you slowly build off the viewers you already have instead of people tuning out after 45 minutes because in the challenger stage, like we all know all the issues that there were in the previous majors, and you would hope that PGL would hit the ground running a little bit faster than what PGL did. Like we don't know. This is like such a huge undertaking. I don't want to jinx ESL or anything because you hope that they were able to bring that sort of standard to the beginning of the event because when they put on, you know, most of their flagship events, it doesn't really. I mean, maybe the first day there are some issues sometimes, but they usually fix those almost immediately to make sure the broadcast is of the standard that they've created for themselves. So
it's also
yeah.
not comparable to the RMR or TPL because it's not a remote production.
Yeah, that's the big one right there, right? If I feel like the biggest criticisms for ESL was like audio desync, having everything on site. What would be the last ESL event that was like this? It would have been Cologne and then Dallas, and I don't remember any big hiccups with those two. So you'd hope, right? I think like the biggest it's a huge undertaking, man, as well. And if they want to make B streams, you know, because there's so many games ongoing all at the same time. I don't want to say anything we can't, but like there's just going to be there's gonna be a lot of things that could go wrong, but also it's ESL. They do so many events that you'd hope they hit the ground running. Unlike PGL, who have to like come in cold every time.
Yeah, there has to be a B stream though, because there's two games happening simultaneously. So I don't think that's saying anything that shouldn't be public.
Okay, good.
Okay.
I will say that the only thing I'll say the only thing that I like. This is probably like in the minority in terms of the overall fan base, but as someone who watches CS a lot, I just hope that there's something like slightly tweaked about the visual format of the broadcast, because with EPL and the RMR back-to-back, kind of seeing like the same kind of visual like ESL elements might be a little boring if we're doing that for another two weeks. I hope like something in that sense is a little tweaked, like even if it's just the colors or if it's the like slight tweaks to the way they have the graphics or the rolling images and whatnot.
I think they're going to put more effort into like stingers and things like that. Because remember when they did the teaser that this event was going to come out, they had that kind of pointless but like interesting long graphic of Rio, and it was like this illustration that they released, and it was the whole YouTube video was called CS_Rio. And I hope that they are putting out more sort of stuff like that just kind of gives it more atmosphere, because that's true. I brought that up on like Snake and Banter a while back, where it's like this stretch of time, it was basically all ESL for the last 2 months of everybody's viewing experience for CS. So if they don't bring anything new and it does look the same, the major will carry it. The fact that it is a this event, but it's also like, for everybody that just got through watching Pro League in the RMR, they're going to be like, I'm just tuning into the same thing. But please, I mean, I think that they're going to put in a couple little like stinger things. They're probably going to bring in some different content stuff that is going to supplement the broadcast a little bit more. So your viewing experience isn't just surf and chill. I know everybody's a huge fan, but I think they're going to fill those moments.
There's also surf and flex. Remember, there's a difference. Surf and flex.
What do you wait? What is the difference? Okay, you don't.
There is. I don't know, man.
No,
sometimes at the end it's surf and chill. Sometimes at the end it's surf and flex.
Okay, the difference between surf and chill and surf and flex, having had to watch like so much of this, is just that surf and chill is usually like a more like melodic, slower electronic music track, and then surf and flex, and it is a harder level. It's a level that usually involves spins, like 360 spins in the air, and the BPM increases by like 25. It's literally like boom, 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 and as opposed to like, it's like it's almost elevator music to like, it's not like techno, but
it's not club music, but it's closer.
It's a little bit more clubby. Yeah,
okay. You're doing the Lord's work answering these important questions.
I need surf and flex with live Brazilian crowd reactions.
Yeah, you know what? God, if people actually got hyped to that, I think society would be in a great place. Actually, if everybody could just like bond over surf and flex, like there would be no wars anymore.
Yeah. Well, you might be right about that. You know, we could just get hypnotized into some sort of zombified state where we have no control over our motor functions anymore because we're just sitting here watching a CSGO tournament where it's probably the most prestigious tournament to date. And yet we go between this semifinal matchup to decide which team makes the grand final to face off FaZe Clan and surf and chill after map 1. Fuck! Like, why does that happen at these big events? Honestly, it's so infuriating to go from like, look at the hype storyline. Look at finally Gambit. Like, I remember this because it was Gambit at IEM Katowice. They were about to win their online tournament, right? And in between the grand final, we're getting surf and chill or something. Like, I mean, Jesus, dude, that's such a break of momentum. You know what I mean? So let's be clear. Like, we need something changed about these broadcasts. Like, 100%.
I will say to ESL's credit, they have like added some other like extraneous content pieces in the last events. Like they have kind of moved away from focusing so much on those. Like there are the occasional surf and flex segments, but usually they're like between a desk and the match starting, not like at halftime or like I think when a match is really ramping up. Like they've done a good job in terms of the the question peel off things that they were doing, like with Sato and Simple. That was good. Like there's a couple of those kind of segments that they've done a decent job in, and it is kind of copying from stuff that is done in like more traditional media.
Sure,
so like maybe something like a little more like maybe something a little more CS based would be fun, like specifically, but obviously like content like that has to like be created by someone. Like someone has to come up with that and kind of lead that. So it's fun seeing like more of those come through.
I have a strong feeling there will be more side content. Okay, I have a huge clue. Okay,
we do need something like something that's not even comedic too, especially once you get into these hype games. Like on some level, I understand you want to like maybe reset the air, have a palate cleanser. Like, oh, what a crazy best of one upset that was. Let's go to like some comedy or surf and chill or whatever. But I almost feel like maybe even for the major, it should always be something serious, and you should just elevate to a new level of serious hype at the once we hit playoffs, right? Or once we hit like each successive stage, instead of always resetting to like, oh, what is Simple being? Who is searching Simple? Knife steal or whatever. I don't know what it was, but like whatever that case may be, right? It's like, who's searching this? Like, okay, maybe that can give you some insight or whatever, but for the most part, it's probably played for laughs. And I don't really want to be like, I want to be laughing for very specific reasons at the major. And ideally it wouldn't be like between maps where something epic has probably just happened,
Why are you laughing at Brazil being eliminated from the major?
Well, that's
something very specific. Come on, Pronoga.
That is true. That would be very specific. And I'm not even, listen, what are they going to do? Send me messages on Twitter? Follow me on Twitter so you can hate me. It's right down there, guys. It's right down there. You think Brazil's going to get out of this major? All right, well, tell me here.
I'm glad we have a lightning rod to take that attention.
So I'm moving this Overton window so far, guys. There's so much space. Go ahead.
If we have any step up in terms of like content and shoulder piece from ESL, which if you think about it, man, if I was them, I wouldn't have tried to push the envelope during Pro League or the RMRs.
Yeah.
Same. The longer you keep it stale, the more there's the more noticeable changes will be seen. So, man, I want fucking player profiles. That needs to come back at
Yes.
majors.
Oh yeah.
That to me is something that like, and I I feel like maybe not everybody ever realized that like it was never those are expensive to make for sure, dude, right? But like the ones that Tom Newman made for ROPS, those were like the last good ones, or like the last, impressive ones, I think, that I can remember. And
there were some Flashpoint ones,
always like,
but you can't remember those. So that's
right,
the
Shadow
point.
Flashpoint wouldn't have watched. It's just
those also
like,
would have been by Tom Newman, actually. Those were
right.
by Tom
It's always
Newman,
him,
too.
man.
Yeah.
It's just like those were always such a mainstay of the majors that you almost waited for the major to get those those pieces on whoever would have come up by then. Like think about how many players have like jumped into the spotlight since we last had this this rotating door of player profiles that would have been deserving of it. That must have interesting stories that could have even at this point come and gone by now. Like, I don't know. It always feels like a miss whenever there's a major and we don't get to find that like that extra level of a story.
Also, ESL have had a lot of
bring that
time
back.
with like hosting the RMR to even interview these players for those kind of player profiles, interview the staff, interview like a lot of extraneous people if they actually are trying to create that. So if something like that comes around, it would be like they had the opportunity to kind of like make some of that content. So I hope we get something like that.
And I'm sure they took it. That you raised it right then and there, right? With having access during RMRs, I will, like Mauisnake, co-sign, like there should very well be some decent stuff. And that's what's going to make this feel a little more special.
Yeah, that is. I mean, I'm obviously out here criticizing everything, but when they do a good job, assuming they do, like one of the first people here to say, nice, hyped content, like.
Also, if you're ESL, again, like, you make sure this is the biggest thing because you've had Blast pushing you for the last couple of years now, and we've seen ESL respond, with some changes, and sometimes it's just good that Blast does something, some innovation elsewhere gets introduced to ESL, great, but like Blast is doing the next major. You protect your neck right now if you're ESL, and you make sure you fucking smash this. So I hope they do. And they should, because they know it, right? I feel like everybody that I've talked to who's an employee at ESL has really been emphasizing that like they're putting everything they have into this and into making it really, really special.
They've been fixated on it for sure.
Yep.
This has been something that they've been looking forward to, and like all these things that they're gonna implement for it. So hopefully we get to see the fruits of everybody's labor. Okay, let's talk about the actual games that are going to be coming up. Let's talk about the challenger stage a little bit. So pull that up if you guys don't have it. What I want to do with this, and I kind of want to, it would take a long time for us to go through every team and everything like that. So let's kind of outline quickly some of the teams that we just think are pretty heavy favorites, and then we'll move into the ones that are a little bit more contentious. So I'm going to just say Vitality. I think we all agree they're going to make it through. Or that we think they're going to make it through. I would also put in Cloud9 right there. And I actually think right then it dips off a little bit. Like, I don't think there's necessarily... there's, like, very, very likely teams beyond those two. But I would say that it does drop off. And I think the next one, for me, is Maus. Like, I think Maus has shown a lot lately. And then I also think it, like, is still up in the air. But, like, does anybody disagree? First of all, does anybody disagree that Maus is going to make it through?
I wouldn't put them in my most likely... Like, I wouldn't put them in my next category down from like guaranteed, but I would have them in like the third kind of like.
Okay, so who do you think is more likely than Maus then?
To be honest, I would put like OG Furia above Maus.
Okay, yeah, I would put them in. I mean, I have them in my same tier roughly. Like OG Furia and Maus are kind of in the same, a pretty similar realm for me, I'd say. So
maybe it's Copium, but I do feel like Furia will play pretty well at this event.
I think they will too. I think that's why I'm putting them in that like top 5 for me. I think they're one of the top 5 teams in this one.
Yeah, so I'd probably put them like right after Vitality and C9 for me.
Okay, yeah. We all agree that these 5 are pretty likely then, right? So if people in their pick'ems just put these in the lower row, they're gonna get a golden coin or a diamond coin, right? That's
but it's about getting 9 out of 9, Maui.
That's it. That's what I said. That's what I do. I play for the 9 out of 9. Like
that's why you put big in the 3-0.
No, that's not how you would actually get the.
Who did you put in your 3-0?
I put Vitality as my 3-0.
See, that's where I'm actually a little bit in disagreement. Like, I think Vitality are going to go through, dude, but I do think that they're actually more susceptible to an upset than I don't know. I would say like Cloud9
Cloud9.
Vitality, you're
Yeah.
ultimately,
Wait.
and I think Cloud9 Vitality are up there.
Outsiders 3-0.
Honestly,
Anyone else
if I was playing like the game to get like 5 right in the bottom and play risky with the other 2, I would put like Fnatic 3-0, and then like as my 7, I would put like Vitality, Cloud9, Outsiders, Furia, OG, and then like toss up between like Mao's big 0-0 nation. I would say those are like
No
my
way
3.
you would put 0-0 in the same category as Maus, dude. That's okay.
Well, I mean, I mean, like 2 out of those 3 would take the final 2 spots. I'm not saying that I'm putting them in the same category. I'm saying like in those.
You don't have Imperial making
listen.
it through. You don't have Imperial.
I don't.
No.
Okay. Okay. This is what I want to. Okay, let's talk about this first. Okay, Imperial. How does this team not just? Okay, there's a crowd, guys. There's a crowd. Imperial is going to feed off of that.
Are you ready for Bad News Eagles to defeat Imperial on land, dude? Are you ready for Gamer Legion
They've
to
already done
defeat
that.
Imperial on land, dude?
Gamer Legion is not beating them at land.
Are you ready for?
Wait,
Wait, hold on. Who else is in this list? One sec, guys. Are you
There's
ready?
a lot of
opinion, right?
Wait,
Maui, do you really think that the crowd buff is going to take like? I mean, how much stock do you put in that, dude? Because if I look, I mean, honestly, dude, Imperial did. Imperial did their RMR performance, man. Complexity should be here. Complexity fucked up.
But this is what
Yeah.
keeps happening to Imperial. This is what keeps happening over and over again. They beat Cloud9 in a studio. There was no crowd at the last major, okay? Teams like literally piss their pants when they play this team. Like it doesn't make sense. And at this point, maybe I'm jumping the ship at the like worst possible time.
Yes.
Because I for so long was like, nope, Imperial aren't winning this. Nope, Imperial aren't winning this. I didn't think they were going to beat Complexity. I didn't think they were going to beat Cloud9. I didn't think they would be here in general, and they keep doing it. So that's where to me there are enough teams here with too little experience to actually like stand up to them. I think when you look at like Big, I think Big can lose to them. I think 9Z can lose to them. I think Gamer Legion can lose to them. I think 0-0, Fnatic, IHC, Greyhound. There's like 8 teams here that can lose to Imperial.
You know who you didn't say can lose to Imperial? Evil Geniuses.
Okay, the EG can lose to them too. EG can definitely lose to them.
No.
Okay.
All right, if you're gonna use history and historical precedent as an argument for your case of why Imperial will make it through, you've wrecked yourself because SK Gaming choked their hearts out repeatedly every time there was a Brazilian event, dude. By Imperial, you're out. There's no shot. They're gonna choke just like they always did. You want to use historical precedent? There you go. There it is.
Out of these top like 8 EU teams that are here, right? So from like Vitality to Big, and also I guess including Furious, like the top 8 teams, the top 8 ranked teams. Which teams are going to absolutely just blunder it in this stage?
Big.
Okay,
I think.
Yeah,
Big. I almost put Big
right
03, bro. I mean,
they're not going to be 03, but they're bad. They're bad right now.
They're not far off. I don't think they're far off, man. I mean, they're lucky. They won't be 03 because they play Greyhound most likely. In their
I was gonna say,
round.
there's no way. Yeah, there's no way that you can put Big over Greyhound as an 03.
No, Big. The thing is, like, think of these 03 matchups that could happen if Big go 02. IHC, Greyhound, and like I don't even know 9Z. I would put all these teams. I would put Big to beat all 3 of those teams. Imperial. I mean, they could even. I mean, I said that like Imperial could beat Big. I actually kind of stand by that. I think that Imperial will probably beat Big.
It's not. I think the thing is big is they're not even going to be 0-2 because again, if presuming opening games go Furia over Big, I think everybody co-signs that, and then obviously OG over Greyhound. I don't see that as an upset. Round 2 game is basically Big. You know, I think Big versus Greyhound is round 2. So
then they're just going to beat Greyhound almost for sure, dude. Almost sure. Like, there's no world Greyhound wins a game here. There's just no world.
What really tilted me about ever backing Greyhound to begin with, which is something I didn't really do in the previous major.
When did you do this?
No. I'm just saying I gave them enough credit that they like should feel like, oh, everybody's doubting them. Use that energy. But then when it came out that they were actually in the last major, they were like, yeah, we just didn't even bother fucking practicing. Like, screw that. It's like, for a major, what do you mean? So like, I can't really put any faith in them just because, like, I know most people are just being like, all right, Greyhound 03, move on to the next point. They're not really elaborating on it. That's not really related to their play, but that's like, there's a historical precedent for them to not value the major. And I don't know what was going on
for Australia.
Yeah,
they're saving strats for Australia.
We're domestic competition to just make it to new like tier 1 events.
Yeah.
Like they'll just keep qualifying because they save all the strats when they're at the tier 1 events.
There you go. That makes
Perfect.
I will say
Perfect.
also Sin hasn't really played in front of a crowd yet, so I don't know how I don't think anyone can really predict how well he's going to perform in front of a crowd, especially one that's cheering against them if they end up playing like Imperial, for example.
Yeah, but that's your first time playing in front of a crowd and you play like Imperial.
In Brazil, oh man.
Well, you're
Brazil,
also they're going to be playing Furia if that's the opening matchup. I still don't know. Like Furia could just as easily suffer from the SK syndrome that I referenced earlier, right? Like. Isn't this their first time playing in front of a Brazilian crowd, or am I wrong about that?
I'm almost sure you're right.
Played,
right?
Really? DreamHack Rio Open. The Furia was there, and I'm pretty sure it was majority
DreamHack
same team.
Yeah,
bro.
Open Rio.
I've cast Furia to a Brazilian crowd before, and it was in Rio.
Okay.
It exists.
All right. How long ago was that?
2019, boys. 2019. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
you're right. They got second
place.
place.
They did then lose to Avant-Garde. Yeah.
But Avant-Garde was legit.
Yeah, dude, they made major finals. That's how legit they were.
United was at that event. Rest in peace.
This was a team with still Vinny and Able J. Like, so.
Yeah, coming in second. United. I do remember that, actually.
And Fury only had to beat Sharks to get there.
They got to LAN, and Vanity was the only one that played well.
Yeah.
Oh. That's why
you raise a good point though, Pronogo, because you said like they may suffer the choke.
Yeah.
Was that?
That's basically what I was saying. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just saying, they were also map up 16-2 in the grand finals and then choked to Avant-Garde. So
I mean, to be fair, if you're going up against James, it doesn't matter. I mean, I assume you mean 15-2 because they couldn't have been 16-2, obviously, or whatever. Unless you mean they won the first map.
No, they won the
first map. Okay, yes, okay. They won the first map 16-2.
I was gonna say if they had choked out a 15-2 lead or something, that James is the perfect IGL to be playing against. Yeah, but yeah,
and the highest rated player in that series, Sanji.
Oh my god, dude!
My guy
had a life performance versus Furia.
Dude, he was top 6 rated at the event. Top 6.
Crazy.
Oh my god.
How could they drop him?
Furia was the highest rated player. They dropped him like he dropped guns.
There it is.
At will.
There it is.
Just at will. Yeah. I don't know if I think Fury is good enough though. Like, yeah, I guess they could. Like, the emotions will play a factor into this, but they're gonna have a modest crowd cheering for them, and I think they're actually pretty good. So that's where I'm kind of at with Fury. I don't think it's not like Imperial for me, where Imperial is like, I am going out on a limb saying Imperial is going to qualify for the next stage, but Furia I have much more confidence in. Like, I think this is probably top 5 teams that are there. Like, I don't think there's 6 better teams than them. I'll say that. Like,
I have confidence in Furia making it through this stage, but not the next. Like, I definitely put them quite high up in making it through the stage, but definitely not the Legend stage.
I have full faith in them. They'll make it to the arena.
I think they have a good chance to make it to the arena. I'd probably put it as like 55-45. I actually think they're more likely to make it right now.
Look at their major record though. It's actually not good. They were like 20th to 22nd at their first 2 majors, and then quarterfinals at the last 2, and they didn't perform.
Quarterfinals is fine. Quarterfinals is good. That's why they've been making playoffs consecutively.
I think the teams around them are just too good right now for them to get past there. Like Tesserado and Yuri are carrying them way too hard right now. Art has fallen off. Safe isn't performing as well as everyone expected. I think I just don't see them making the playoffs from the second stage.
Well, let's actually, you know what? Let's keep going with this. Fine. This is who I think if they are really not going to make it. I look at the Legend stage and I think that some of those teams are just not going to play as well. There's NIP are super rocky. No, we're getting too off base. We're getting way too off. I'm gonna get too off base if I start this conversation about why they
always winning the major.
Who?
Sprouts.
Sprout.
Oh my god.
Sprouts. Okay, it's so weird that they're legends, but let's stick with the challenger stage. Let's not.
Can I just make a point about Furia before we move on?
Okay, yeah. You can say something about Furia. Go for it.
When you're talking about them handily dispatching big. It's a best of 1. I don't know how the map pool breaks out between these 2 teams since the addition
Big
of
can't
Sin,
get dust.
Right?
Big won't get dust.
Yeah, they won't
get ban dust.
Right. But I mean, even without the players, like even without one of their stars or their key players that they've been drilling with for so long, I don't know if Big is that easy to put away. I think they are. They're not like, I've been using this analogy a lot lately, but like if you could think of like Heroic as the gatekeeper for tier 1, like S tier teams, right? If you can handily dispatch Heroic, you're probably like in the S tier area. And then I kind of think of Outsiders as that same thing for tier 2. At this point, I mean, it's harsh to say this, but Big, like for me, Big and Outsiders are kind of on the same level. But now with this roster swap, it's more like if you can handle this, Big team with their understrength roster, I mean, then your next opponent to readily and regularly overcome would be Outsiders, because like they kind of play not the same style, but they're very tactical. They're like, they have this system in mind.
Yeah.
And it really, like, James has proven that he can take players and just integrate them. And I think the same is true for the whole Tabson roster, right? And so I kind of look at Big like they have a puncher's chance to defeat Furia. And if that does happen, and of course, everything else goes to plan, then Furia would be up against Fnatic in the opening round. But even if they beat Big in the opening round, they're then going up against OG, again, assuming everything else goes to plan. So that to me feels like neither of those are clear cut. I would actually favor Fnatic and OG to defeat Furia here. So that's just my 2 cents anyway. I feel like the opening matches, obviously it's like gets really silly when you try to predict them down the line with the simulator. But like for me, I just look at that and I think like they really do need to defeat Big to have a good chance, a good shot at making it to the next stage. And if they don't, if they drop that game, then we start to think about crowd choking and the crowd nerf instead of the crowd buff. But we also think about like all the other teams that are, I would say like the average day, a better team than Furia. And I think actually Fnatic would qualify as that. And I would say OG have an
I don't think Fnatic are better than Furia. I do not think Fnatic are better than Furia. No, I definitely do not think they're better. I think that Furia, even when they've been playing badly, are as good as Fnatic are when they're playing well. Like when they both got into ESL Pro League, like Furia looked like worse than themselves, and they still made playoffs. They still finished in the same spot that Fnatic did. And I thought Fnatic were like, whoa, you guys are playing well above how I think you guys should be playing right now. And so if you just kind of regress to the mean for both of the teams, Fnatic is actually a little worse and Fury is a little better. So that's how I see that matchup from my perspective.
I actually only just saw that Fnatic's playing Cloud9 in their first round, so I retract my 3-0 comment for Fnatic.
Yeah,
I will say I usually do like the first round calculator and try and like predict through the next matchups, but the first round of this specific event is just like there's so many matches that could go either way that I didn't even bother going through it this time. So I think like there's just a lot of teams that are like Mau's form at the RMR look decent, but I still think that they could flop. Like there's teams that are just like not 100% committed as to like whether they will perform completely well or not. Like Vitality could come in and lose to Imperial, for example, in their first round.
Are they?
I don't think they
in the first round.
Yeah,
they are. Okay.
Yeah, their opener. So I think that's fair. I think right now what's weird about this challenger stage is that what you're saying here, Note, is dead on. That there's a few teams that like could kind of flop, right? Like we put Vitality on slightly shaky legs. Dude, Cloud9 have lost maps before when they're not supposed to. Fnatic is in that conversation. I think OG's inconsistencies are a little bit sketchy. I
can see Maus having
Bad
a
News
sketchy
Eagles,
event too.
dude, can have collapses on T sides. You're dead on again, dude. Maus is there. But I just listed off 6 teams that could like, we put in like a should win, but there's always, there's that little fucking voice in the back of your head that slows you down. And so with that in mind, when I put them head to head, right, I think like we could end up getting like a team slipping through. And maybe this is where I think Maui, your Imperial conversation comes through, right? Because they will have this consistency in crowd support. They will have this consistency in they've been here before, they've played on bigger stages, the pressure, etc., doesn't stack necessarily against Imperial. So maybe that's their way to slip through here. But beyond Imperial, you guys really like, I'm gonna list teams here. And do you really think that even with these, sketchy, the little slightly sketchiness to some of the others, the favorites, fucking support somebody here if you think they can really punch their way up, right? Evil Geniuses, IHC, Bad News Eagles, 00 Nation, 9Z Gamer Legion. If you had to pick 1, 2 that comes through, what's
I give 00 Nation a puncher's chance.
I'd say Bad News Eagles actually are the team that like might make it. Of those.
Did you watch that team's T side at the RMR?
Dude,
No, because I didn't either. Because it's non-existent. It's non-existent. I didn't watch it either.
They're horrible. They're like literally my least favorite team to watch in all of Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Period. I could watch an advanced game and enjoy it sometimes more than a Bad News Eagles game. The benefit is that Bad News Eagles is generally playing tier 1.5 opposition, which I'll enjoy more than two advanced teams playing against each other.
There you go, harsh words.
I just give 0-0 Nation a slight edge in terms of like out of those teams to possibly make it out, because I think that they also have the experience under them, but they also have like, you have Lado who's actually able to perform like relatively consistently and well for them, Dumao as well. And then like, I think for me, their like hopes of making it through kind of rely on how well Tri plays at this event specifically. Like I think if he shows up and he's actually performing like pretty well in like 1.15, 1.2 ratings kind of area, then I think that they will be able to just like probably sneak through like 3-1, 3-2 maybe.
You're dead on. I think Tri is somebody that has to be there, but I feel like it's weird because every time we watch them, this guy just gets relegated to planting bombs and throwing nades way too often. He's not set up in a star role like he was on 9Z. So I think like I feel for Tri because I'm somebody who was I was in the Tri camp early. He's got some of these, he's got that flash to him with the op that just stuns you kind of. But I want to add something here. No, I want to say Cold Zera as well. Yes. I think that they rely on Tri and Cold. And if you come in on the RMR performance, dude, Cold Zera has suddenly, that like, what was that HLTV headline? It's like, I don't go to the gym. I don't have friends.
I don't get to enjoy Counter-Strike.
Yeah. I just play CS. And I'm like, dude, I kind of believe that right now. Like, if you were to tell me that has been his mantra for the last 2 months, I would say, well, it's about damn time. And his statistics actually show it up, bro. His last 3 games at the RMR, he was like in the green every single time. Yeah. Even when they lost that game versus Complexity 16-10, he was like top or second best performer. So if Cold can actually transition that into this major, and again, any buff that we give to Imperials players, I think we have to give to Cold Zera.
I was gonna say, like, as a player who performs in front of crowds, it's Cold.
Sign here, dude. Yeah, I'll co-sign the 0-0 Nation. That again, maybe slipping through as a 3-2 team. And they have Bad News Eagles as an opener. I think they can beat Bad News Eagles in that opening game because the T sides from Bad News Eagles, we saw it last major, bro. It's the reason that they got eliminated ultimately, right? Like,
it's just random.
Too many teams come back against them.
Yeah.
But hold on. I want to throw another curveball, get your guys' thoughts. Because we talk about the South American teams getting like buff or whatever, but it's funny because Imperial 0-0 Nation, I think 9Z is the best of the 3.
Because of the RMR, I kind of am there, but like
last major as well. Also, this is a repeat. It's a repeat performance. Any credit that I think you can give to Bad News Eagles, I think 9Z gets the mirror of it, hands down.
Oh, I just don't think
but it's under the radar.
I'm not convinced that they will be able to deal with the pressure as well as 0-0 Nation and Imperial though. Like that's where I kind of like give those two teams the edge. They might be better in like current form in a studio environment, but I think like people like it's harder to discount the fact that every single one of these games is going to be in front of a crowd and it's the major. Like already in studio settings, the major adds a lot of pressure for these upcoming teams. Now you have a crowd on top of that. I think that's going to like extremely change the dynamic in that sense.
But there's a crowd. There's a crowd for the first stage. We don't know if there's a guaranteed crowd for every single game because you said it earlier. B stream's guaranteed. Right. So what if we get a 9Z versus
they just slip through B
behind the stage? You know what I mean? Like if that's their playing environment, then suddenly it's again like for sure, dude. The pressure of the situation and the experience that Imperial and 0-0 Nation have, not even comparable.
So you're saying we could have another Copenhagen Flames playing in their hotel room situation?
That is kind of exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. It might. I think they could slip through, dude. They've got that fire.
If you want to do like the mirror, like another team that's kind of in that same 9Z boat is IHC. They actually did better at Antwerp than 9Z did.
Okay.
But I don't see. The thing is, I just have no faith in either because I just kind of I have a similar feeling about both. Like I can't see 9Z or IHC doing anything or Greyhound. I kind of put them in a very similar tier. I think this time around. I'll say this: if 9Z win, if they go 2-3, I'd be pleasantly surprised for them if they go 1-3, I think that's right on the nose. I think that's exactly where they should end up, 1-3, because they'll beat. I think they would beat a Greyhound. I think they might beat an IHC, something like that.
Their opening is also Gamer Legion, so I think that's a team. If we're looking at like these,
South American
winnable question marks,
weirdly.
and if we're looking, I think Gamer Legion's kind of the European question mark because, I mean, Shuhei can call. Shuhei can fucking weave gold from whatever he's given to. Acor came out of nowhere, dude. This is a team that pushed FaZe into OT.
That team also preps super hard. I walked up to I was filming them on in their winning moment or whatever, and the staff were literally talking about how they got 1,000 pages of notes printed out for the RMR, and I was like, Jesus, okay.
I always
I don't know if that's beneficial at that point because that's just too much. Yeah. But I was like, okay, whatever.
The thing about doing all that prep before the event, right? Is that the teams get to these RMRs, these important events, and they actually play games and they just change up so many different things.
Yep.
That it's I almost worry about doing that much prep before an event because I feel like it can actually just hurt you once you actually get into it. So I mean, it can be kind of beneficial, but I would struggle to say how much of a benefit that actually has overall.
Pages.
I think it's
as if your average CS player is sitting down to read 1,000 pages, bro,
of anything.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
let alone
that's honestly that's lifetime goals. I've read 1,000 pages.
What I'm always thinking about when I'm doing notes, just before a match, right? Is I'm like, what are the players actually gonna fucking read? What will they actually remember?
Yeah,
if I'm just,
exactly.
Typing all kinds of shit, it's they'll get into the match and they just won't remember anything. It's just not that helpful. So you kind of have to really pick and choose.
Maybe Gamer Legion need that American football style thing where they're going okay, you got the head coach and he's talking to a whole team of analysts, and then he's relaying that into the players, the quarterback or whatever, and that's the IGL in this analogy. But I don't think we facilitate other people talking to the coach during timeouts or whatever. That's not going to happen, especially after what's happened lately. I will say on the Gamer Legion 9Z topic or whatever, I mean, specifically contrasting 9Z against the other opposition from South America, I feel I mean, maybe you guys disagree, but it seems like 9Z's playstyle is a lot more explosive and to the point where it can catch you off guard, whereas 00 Nation, 00 Nation, they feel more they play standard until something breaks in the middle of the round, and then they have to pull out the sort of fastball or curveball or whatever. And so really it's 9Z prepares for that environment, whereas 00 Nation don't, or maybe they do prepare for it, but not in the same way. Where that's not their baseline expectation. And of course, Imperial is more collected than all of them. If there's a gradient and it's collected versus crazy, Imperial's on the collected side, 9Z on the crazy side, and 00 Nation in the middle. So that to me is more where I would rank those teams in terms of play style, and I feel that can figure a lot into it. Of course, there is the question of whether that playstyle will even be delivered upon with all the X factors the crowd and the pressure. But if 9Z do get into some crazy situation, I would back them more than 00 Nation to make it through that. It's just a question of they kind of live in that environment for me, whereas 00 Nation is they kind of they dance with it, that you merely adopted the crazy or whatever, that's sort of the vibe I'm getting from these teams.
But so wait, so does that mean you which one? So which one do you like more to make it through between 00 and 9Z? Just for
Well, I think that 9Z's opening match is a lot more winnable. Although I still don't know that they would defeat Gamer Legion. But
actually, I just looked at betting sites for opening matchup odds. It's actually on every betting website. It is literally dead even between Bad News Eagles and 00 Nation.
Really?
It's dead even. Yeah. They think that's a 50-50 matchup, as much as it can be. That's so... I thought it would be B&E favored, personally.
I would say B&E slight favor, maybe. That's what I would expect, but yeah. I would want 00 Nation to win that game. As in, what I want? I want Bad News Eagles 0-3. I don't like watching them play. I don't like.
Well, honestly, this is the event that could happen, Maui. You could realistically have them in the 0-3 pick. The problem is, then you go well, what are they going to lose to IHC and Greyhound or whatever? But it could happen. You know what I mean? So this isn't the Bad News Eagles against the teams that you saw at the previous major. And on top of that, this isn't the roster or the set of teams around them that you saw at the previous major. Even these teams are stronger at the challenger stage than we saw at the challenger stage of Antwerp, right? Like, I think we can all pretty much agree on that. Like, maybe the uppermost tier of CS is a bit weirder because we don't have a clear cut like Navi and FaZe or whatever that we had at Antwerp, where everybody else is like A tier, but they're S tier. That's a little bit more like people are a bit more out on FaZe or whatever because they're a bit shaky, which I disagree and we'll get to eventually. But like, when you're looking at the whole field, the bottom, the skill floor, right? It feels like it's been pushed up. And BNE are a team that only kind of made it through to the legend stage of the previous major because
I don't know if
the skill floor was
different.
down.
I don't know if it's that.
I think it's a pretty big difference.
I look at the teams that made it through the challenger stage last time, and it's G2, Vitality, ENCE, Spirit, Outsiders, Liquid, Imperial, BNE. Like, BNE snuck in, like nobody's business into that group. Like, that was some of the teams that didn't make it. For example, Astralis. Well,
they didn't even make it here. That's what I'm saying. The teams that made it to this stage are just generally at a higher level than the teams that were at the stage previously. Like, that's why I'm saying BNE is not like, I don't pick them to make it through. Whereas you would be understood why you might pick them for Antwerp, or you might see how they could sneak in. Like, I can't see them sneaking in here, is what I'm saying.
You cannot see them.
I can't see them sneaking in because the level of play has risen relative to the past challenger stages.
And I haven't seen BNE's level rise with that.
I think they've fallen.
I was saying, like, watching them at the RMR, their team side didn't get better. Like, it looked worse almost. So,
and part of that is relative to the opposition.
That just doesn't give me faith.
Yeah, I would say, like, really, if they wanted faith, they should have replaced GXX. To be honest, that's what if they wanted like some sort of puncher's chance or whatever, they needed somebody else on op. So.
Okay.
Do we want to actually try it? Because we have an odd number of people. Do we want to actually like try and predict the first round of matches? Just kind of see who we
win? Why not? It's eight of them. Let's just do it and we'll close out the challenger subject in general on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So OG Greyhound, we're all going OG, surely.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not even gonna let anybody talk.
Yeah.
Okay. Vitality versus Imperial.
Vitality.
Vitality.
Or EG IHC.
EG, easy.
Yeah, I think this is also that. Not too difficult. Are any of these even hard? Okay, here we go.
I sit on that one for a second, dude. I sit on that one for just a second. Like,
EG IHC?
Like, again, gun to my head, EG. However, you know, it's IHC play real CS.
Yeah, they do. And EG try to play real CS.
Yeah, right? Dude, and I mean, if I hadn't watched Blast Showdown, then I would have said, yo, EG, let's get it. You know, they're coming off of a win over FaZe, or excuse me, not FaZe, with the Furia. They're coming off that win off of Furia. It looks solid. You know, I question how prepared Furia would have been for that EGBO1, you know, and again, 16-14. Like, they got their win. I won't take it from them. But they go back to the online realm of CS with Blast Showdown. These guys didn't even hold that. I watched that B site Ninja Diffuse.
Man,
what are we doing? You know, like, and I get it. Again, it's online CS. They're not side by side. So, but for that moment of hesitation, I just think in a best of one with prep, IHC,
chance. I'll say chance, but
chance.
EG.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So if I feel the same as Jordan says chance, odds, I'm gonna put that at 75-25 EG.
Oh, that's totally
that's more than I would say. I would say like 70-30. I would give like IHC a bit more of a puncher's chance.
I would not give IHC more of a puncher's chance because you guys are forgetting that EG almost defeated Team Liquid, who we would all say deserves their legend stage spot, right? So, like, you can talk about the online results, and those were disappointing, but I mean, and this is a separate argument. I can't even really say this anywhere else, so I'm going to go inject it here. The fact that Complexity as a team, we're so proud of our team and the way that we've come from failing to qualify for the major. Our team was great. Like, I saw those tweets, man. And that is just, what do you mean? Like, every day of the week, you should have been defeating Imperial. You should have been getting to the major. You probably shouldn't have even been in that 2-2 bracket to be honest. Like, you should have defeated 0-0 Nation earlier in the tournament. So that was whack to me. And we can't really talk about Complexity because they're not even here. But I wanted to get that off my chest. Like, what are you guys doing? You can't just be happy that the performance is whatever. Like, that felt like total copium. And like, I'm not even sure that they really believe that. But if they did really believe that, that's the opposite of where the mind space they need to be in.
Complexity Somi is a little bit disconnected from CS, dude. I feel like wasn't that the same? That was when they were playing at the Blast groups. Like they came through like, we got eliminated, guys. We'll get them next time.
Oh yeah, I didn't even see that.
People had to respond like, guys, you actually have a match tomorrow. You're not eliminated yet. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on in that camp, man.
Well, when they lost, they lost to Sharks, right? And it wasn't even really that close. So like. Dude,
I watched the first map of that and then I went to bed. I was like, this can't be happening.
Listen, the second map was a bit closer, but the fact that I'm saying a bit closer about Sharks is already like, come on, man. What are you doing?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, we have a little bit of a
EG is
a
what
little
I
one
was
on
saying.
AHC. Only because
of
of
a
EG's question, right? Yeah. Neither of those teams really have they're both still irrelevant, but within that opening game.
I'd say if someone gave me like 1 to 5 odds on IHC, like I could get a 5x payout. I probably could see myself betting on that. Obviously, I can't bet.
I'll put Asimov on it.
Yeah, I'd put a few sand dunes, Nah. Okay, Cloud9 Fnatic. I think this is pretty heavy Cloud9.
I would say so. Listen, I'm a Fnatic homer in some ways, but I still think that Cloud9 will have this match. Fnatic will qualify later. They'll qualify later.
I trust them here.
Yeah.
Let's make this more interesting. Do we think this is more lopsided Cloud9 Fnatic or EG IHC? Which is the more lopsided series in your eyes?
Oh, C9 Fnatic, easy.
You think that's just guaranteed, basically?
The opposite. Yeah, the opposet. EG is guaranteed through this IHC. I don't know why you guys are even.
Oh, really? You think EG is more likely to win over Cloud9?
I would bet $0 on IHC ever. So yeah. Listen, they play legit CS, but I'm not like, okay, I'll take them over Greyhound, but that's like saying, I won't even make that analogy. You guys can fill in the blanks.
If I put EG IHC at, I said what, 75-25?
Yeah.
Then I would put Cloud9 Fnatic at 70-30.
Yeah, I'm a little there.
I think
I'm pretty much there.
Roy's kind of due for a 35 kill game.
There he is.
He's out there.
Somebody in chat earlier said Crim's major buff going to shit on these kids. That could also happen.
Real.
That could
I
also
was going to say Crims is legit. Dude, Nikados is very, very good. And so, the pieces are there, but then, Fnatic had a really whack RMR. Who's the CIS team that they lost to that they had no business dropping them at? They lost to Bait 16-9 on Ancient.
Bait.
That was kind of whack. And then the rest of their run didn't really tell us much more. Here's the thing with Fnatic. They start so strong 16-4. They get FaZe in an overtime game and lose. No shame there, right? FaZe was kind of cheeking by with all these OT wins. Then they lose that game versus Bait. My red flag is up. I need Fnatic to prove that, they're not going to kind of crash and fall. Excuse me. But then their next two opponents were Eternal Fire and One Win. And I don't think that those games really, they were pretty decisive, at least score-wise. But, I want to see them back up against a better team, like the Cloud9. If Cloud9 was at the RMR, if that matchup was there, then I would have liked it more than to start the major. So for now, I'll say Cloud9's a safe bet. But
using very enlightened Reddit analysis, I can prove to you, Scrawny, that Fnatic's major run was actually epic because Eternal Fire beat Team Liquid in EPL groups, and that means that Fnatic are better than Liquid. And then, obviously, One Win beat G2 at this event, which means actually Fnatic are better than G2, which I think everybody agrees with anyway. I mean, what am I even saying? So yeah, there you go. That's mine. There you go.
Okay.
The One Win win's legit. I will say that. One Win is a team that I kind of wish was at the major.
Oh, really? I was going to go the other way and say Eternal Fire was more legit as an opponent to win against. But yeah, I think they're like, if you put them up against One Win, you'd probably win. But even aside from that, because at that point it's like, I mean, I don't know if you guys know this, but maybe there's not actually a whole lot of value in looking at the results of these tier 3, tier 2 tournaments because maybe there's not as much legitimacy. Oh, that's not the wrong word I was using. Never mind. I can't think of the word I really meant, but like maybe you should just maybe the like you ever like break a thing that you used to light cigarettes in the Wild West and then you have to like fix it. Yeah. Anyway.
Love that for you. Okay, let's move on to the next matchup now. What's the next one after that? Big versus Furia. Furia.
This is where we're going to have a housing fight. Yeah.
This is Furia for me, but a huge. It's actually a bigger coin flip than any of the other series. That's how.
Really, I trust this game more than C9 Fnatic. I think Furia
Wow.
wins this.
Yeah, I would actually agree with that.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
I also I don't know if I can agree with that. Actually,
Big loss to Sangal in Blast.
That's a
Sin is
showdown.
gonna be
That's an
playing in-
online
Sin is going to be
showdown.
playing in front of a crowd.
Oh.
Just talent-wise, I just don't see them stacking up like in terms of the performance they're going to have
So
with the crowd buff for Furia too.
So where I give Big more of an opportunity here is that I think they actually coming in with prep work here is going to be really big for them. And I think that they're a team that, like, in a lot of ways can fix things that went badly recently for them very quickly. I've seen it in the past. Like, they'll just fix a couple things. But where I think that actually when this kind of boils down to map veto, I think it goes like Mirage. And I actually think Big are totally okay with this with Sin. So I don't think this is that bad. But it's kind of like with a little bit more digging here than I did on the other maps or the other matches. I think like just probably Mirage. There's a chance it's Nuke, and I actually just straight up haven't liked Furia's Nuke lately at all. So I mean, I think this is possible for Big. If the map veto goes well for them, they're probably going to come into probably 3 maps with really good prep. And I think Furia, for some reason, sometimes it's just like they get onto a map and it's like, dude, I feel like I've seen them make the same mistakes that they made 3 months ago. So that's where I'm a little bit hesitant, but I'm still taking Furia here, like 62-38. That's probably where I'm at.
Wow, it's so specific.
Okay, we're adding 2s in, man. I thought we were doing multiples of 5, man.
60-40. Let's do 60-40 then for me.
I will say it's still so weird to me that Fury are going into this event with their co-owner poker player as their coach.
Hey, yeah, that's another thing.
And Gary, like obviously they can't use Gary, but using their poker player co-owner over Tacitus is just like, for me that blows for Tacitus, but like that, like, imagine being like, oh hey, Major in front of a home crowd for you. Actually, just kidding. We're gonna use like we're gonna use our World Series of Poker bracelet to take us over the line here.
It's totally an ego trip by the Furia management. Like, there's no reason that it shouldn't be. It should be this guy over their over Tacitus.
I would say Tacitus, but I don't know.
I've been saying Tacitus.
Our normal head coach can't be on the stage. Oh, I guess I'll do it. I'll take.
Who wants to stand in front of the Brazilian crowd?
I guess I'll stand in front of our incredible home crowd.
Yeah.
It's also just weird because like the like justification they gave was that he would be able to like emotionally stabilize them and like hype them up, but you can't even do that in majors as the coach because Valve doesn't let you like react.
Yeah.
So good luck reacting during those timeouts. You're like, what are you gonna do?
Get penalized.
Reacts like too much, and he's gonna get Furia fucking disqualified.
That's the way that they lose this match. No, I actually think it's 60-40 in favor of Big. Because the reason why I'll take Big over Furia. The reason why is you guys are all on Big's ass for losing a Sangal. Like prepper.
I don't care about that loss that much. That's why I'm also saying. That's why I'm also saying it's close.
Yeah. Some people will say that. I actually think it's a good thing that they got more playtime in an official match, online may it be, that they with this Sin guy. Like without that, they would be just as like in the wind as Furia is with their roster, right? Where it's like, oh, it's been a while since we've warmed up with an official match. They get this nice. I mean, I would have been nicer if they went deeper into the tournament. Obviously, would have gotten even more time and prac in. But just the fact that like we know Big prepare and they specifically like to prepare deeply, so they maybe weren't preparing as much for the Sangal roster. But even the little prep that they did and like just a little practice drill, they're going to be a little bit more in form, and they get to look at that for mistakes and say, okay, well, maybe we don't allow Inferno into the pool against some of these teams that we don't know that much about or whatever, which is obviously going to help when they go up against teams that they only have a data prep for anyway after this opening match. So yeah, I'll pick Big. I'll be the crazy guy. I'll be the Mauisnake of this show by saying Big are going to win.
Yeah, I think there's like some stats that are a little deceiving when you look at like Big have a 17% win rate on Nuke, but like they've played like FaZe and Ents and Heroic twice. Yeah. Like it's just like so unfair. So the reps they're getting are so much better, and then Furia's win rate on it is like 80, but they're playing Pain and EG and a shitty Movistar and Eternal Fire. Like it's completely different in terms of the context here. But yeah, I just think that Big have a chance here. I think if it gets to Nuke, I'll take Furia, but like 16-14. Like I think it's gonna be so close. Okay.
I'll say 16-10 big.
On nuke.
Any map.
Nuke.
Any map.
Well,
I don't think it goes to nuke, by the way.
Yeah, it's
I
probably
think
not going to go to nuke. That's why I'm saying that.
EG broke Furia's nuke.
Yeah,
They
16,
shy.
16
also,
Furia.
last note on Furia, I think I figured out why they put in the poker player for the coach, and it's because of Valve. They've actually selected somebody who is a professional at hiding his emotions.
There you go.
That's
Right?
true.
That's the whole angle here. It should be a guy who's got the best poker face in the room. So, maybe there's some secret weapons up Furia's sleeve.
Another thing about Big that gives me I still didn't pick him as my team to make it through, but they can ban Inferno for I think the BO1s are where they actually are probably strongest in this actually, because they can get rid of Inferno and they can get rid of their permaban of actually they can get rid of basically they don't really play Overpass that much. They don't play they never play to Ancient, and then they don't like Inferno.
Yep.
So then they can get it to D2, Mirage, Nuke, and Vertigo. I think Vertigo's their weakest of those four, but some teams ban Vertigo.
It'll be Nuke or Vertigo as the last map.
For this one?
Just as the map has to play. It'll be Nuke or Vertigo.
Yeah, if it's Nuke, I think they actually can win, and at Vertigo, I don't have a great feeling about it.
They need a strong start on a Vertigo if they're going to win it. So
okay, let's move to what is, at least by betting websites, the most 50-50 matchup here. Bad News Eagles versus 0-0.
I take 0-0.
Yeah, this is
I would give it to them 60-40.
I think these teams are. I don't know.
I think just because of where the major is in the crowd, it makes me favor 0-0 a bit more.
Yeah,
especially just how Bad News Eagles plays. But who knows? Maybe Bad News Eagles would just thrive in the fucking chaos.
That's the only point I have in their favor. It's they do thrive in the chaos, but I don't know, man. I think 0-0 get this.
0-0 Nation always kind of seems to disappoint me a bit. Right when I'm want to believe in them. So I could see Bad News Eagles winning this.
Is there any 0-0 Nation game on an international level? Or is it just America's competition?
Didn't they move somewhere briefly for some European competition?
They played the Cologne play-in, I think. Or
they played the Cologne main event too. They qualified.
Oh, they qualified. Yeah, they qualified from the
They played FaZe and Liquid.
Yeah. That's right.
That wasn't half
bad. They took a map off Liquid.
And in order to get there, the play-in, they beat Imperial 2-0. They took a map off Spirit, and they beat Astralis 16-6. So I'm going to go with 0-0 Nation on this one.
They played Valencia before that as well.
Just saying, this Liquid team, they could have came in last place at Cologne if they were down a map, down 15-13 on Mirage, and they just needed to lose one of the next two rounds. They brought it back in OT and then won the next map. 0-0 had a chance to actually knock Liquid out of Cologne in the very last place. That's how decent 0-0 actually kind of is.
Yeah,
and it's the Kinder version of Liquid we're talking about.
It's insane. Well, one rounds is the difference between you going out last or making top 4 in an event. It's legit.
Top
there's a world
there, but yeah.
But legit, there's a world where you just fucking lose that round and you're just out in last place. So.
Dude, if they lose that round, I don't even know if Kinder stays with Liquid, Imagine coming last place in Cologne. I don't know if he wants to stay with that team, but then they make top 6, and it's all right, now it's maybe worth it, and now let's give this a shot. So, in some ways, we should be thanking Taco for losing that game to get Yakindar on Liquid.
Okay. Saved America, holy shit.
But you can't thank him, he blocked you.
Yeah, right. He wouldn't get the message. He'll never get the message. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So I think I'm siding with 0-0 because more of a familiarity, honestly.
Yep.
I'll be pretty blunt about that. I didn't really get to see BNE at the RMR that much, but I saw a lot of 0-0, and I could see why 0-0 has real possibilities here to win. And I really do like the point about Cold Zera playing better that Scrawny brought up. I think that kind of was for me, it's almost like their ceiling was tapped by the fact that they had two bad players in Cold and Taco. Now they only have one bad player in Taco, and I'm not afraid of saying that he's bad because he is. And then, but if Cold can be solid, just literally put out a 1.01 rating or even a 0.98, they can win a lot of games. Like Dumao, they set up Dumao really well. They set like Lado is pretty good at also space taking and try. Maybe we want to see him unleashed a little bit more, but that's not a bad trio. And to be supported by a guy it's kind of like when Olaf has these like when Olaf was like at the end of his time with FaZe, he kind of still could pull out the random games. And I think Colt has actually almost found a better version of that, where it's not even like he's not just pulling out random games. He's actually kind of finding a higher level of form, and he's being consistent at it. He's not a star, but he's a very he's a contributing member of the team.
So, like, you and Scrawny were both at the Americas RMR. So you said you didn't see the Europe RMR much. I watched BNE play, like, I think in 3 out of the 5 matches they played or something, and they were not good. Like, yes, they made it through, but, like, skin of their teeth, not impressive. Like, they did get a couple of decent leads against, like, teams at their level. But then they still didn't close it out convincingly. Like 13-2 leads or like 12-3 leads. And it was still a 16-14 or like overtime map. So like for me, they just don't look good. And I just don't favor them at all in this matchup. Like I think like we established that side of it, but I just don't think that they take a win over 0-0 Nation in any kind of scenario in my eyes, at least.
We are majority 0-0 Nation, right?
Yeah. I think all of us are voting for them. The thing about BNE is that I was almost certain they wouldn't even be here and that Forza would be here instead. Especially after Forza took down Astralis. I was waiting for them to qualify so I could send Jerry that congratulatory DM and stuff. But, oh well. I still said he's cool guy. So
I co-signed that, dude. I thought the Bad News Eagles run was kind of a one and done.
Yeah.
That it was going to be the Antwerp story and, we could all celebrate it and whatnot. Great for them, but
I mean, listen, on the plus side,
man, it's T-sides. It's hard not to see the breakdown of Bad News Eagles. It happens way too often.
It's so funny to watch the story progress with Bad News Eagles, where before they were kind of this like charming underdog that made it happen through brotherhood and friendship, and now we're like, God, they actually just play ugly fucking Counter-Strike. Like it's not fun to watch these guys at all. Like,
Get them out.
Just so quickly.
Do we do 9Z Gamer Legion already?
No, we haven't.
No, we haven't done that.
Because I would say that's more of a 50-50 than 0-0 Nation BNE is, in my eyes.
Well, we still have to do Mau's Outsiders if we're going sequential, but whatever you guys want.
I'm just going sequentially. Yeah, I'm going sequentially. So, let's do Mau's Outsiders.
Outsiders.
I was going to say Mau's Outsiders was the most 50-50 one for me.
Really?
I'm going to pick Outsiders, though.
I said this based off of betting odds, by the way, guys. Like, it could be, I mean, betting odds are pretty good, but also, like...
This one is the most even.
Okay. So,
I think so with this one, dude. I think there's 2 key points. I think both teams have like a somewhat inconsistent like rifler in Flit versus Frozen. Frozen has crazy highs, but if there's no Frozen, and then the second piece, it's this whole Torzy versus Jame thing, right?
Frozen and Torzy just better, I think.
Man. I think so. I think and it's the grindy Counter-Strike as well. Like if you play 30 rounds versus Maus, Dexter's gonna lose you at least one. And that could be the difference in this best of one, I think.
He'll lose you one.
At least one, dude. If there's a world Maus walk into that server and just blast this out of the world 16-8. If Torzy and Frozen are hitting shots at their peak and Dexter's well prepped and Dexter he doesn't need to be, doing too much as long as the Torzy Frozen shows up. And I don't know. I just haven't seen enough of exertion in JDC yet to really put any stock in that. I think they do just kind of cancel each other out the same way, like, Fame and Norbert, JDC, exertion. And then we talk about the other 3 pieces. And within those 3 pieces, if it's a close game, Outsiders are going to take it. But Maus could just dominate this one. It's a weird one to predict.
It's weird, but I also think that I've seen more instances of Kickert and Jame ramping up to like incredibly high highs than I have seen from Frozen, Dexter, Torzy. Like I've seen Kickert and Jame just be unbelievably good for their roles. Like Jame has been a top 5 opper at points in his life. Like nobody on Maus has been top 5 anything in their lives other than Dexter's been top 5 Australian player. Like there's no chance. There's no. I just think like.
Are you even sure about that? By the way, I know that was probably just a quick comment, but
yes, definitely.
Top 5 dad to his child.
Yeah, there you go.
Dad. Yeah, I put it like this. What's concerning for me about Outsiders is I'm still not sold on Norbert and Fame, actually. Even though, okay, so Rotterdam kind of changed some opinions. I guess they kind of changed a little bit of my opinion there. But I will say that Flit is like... Flit can match Frozen in my eyes in a lot of ways, but I think Frozen edges it just barely. But for Mao's, like, I think they have a couple weak links. I think Dexter and JDC can be so weak in this game in particular. Like, I even think Exertion can get abused a little bit more because he does kind of just sometimes do weird aggressive shit, and he's a very good he's very good mechanically, so he gets away with it. But like Outsiders is like the one team where if you do a weird shit move, you're just gonna die. Like it doesn't work that often. So you have to play like really smart Counter-Strike that matches Outsiders. And you kind of, I think Torzy though is kind of one of those operas that's pretty good versus a lot of teams that want to play structural CS. But then James is like the ultimate hold the line, and if you make a fucking one bad aggro peak, you're also just dead. So I think I've convinced myself on Outsiders on this one.
Mouse has to like gather their collective IQ to try to outmatch James.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to be enough.
Yeah.
There you go. I want to just say that, like, I want to shout out Cyclone here, the coach of Maus. You know, when you had a roster that contained Bemis and NBK, who are way more well-versed at the top lane, obviously NBK way more than Bemis, but still, like, more, practice at this level and specifically at stage LAN, etc. You might have had me thinking maybe you could do something here. I don't know, though. I mean, I'm not even convinced Maus will make it out. And this roster is so unproven, honestly. Like, not just like the thing about Dexter as an IGL too is that he's obviously had a very weird set of players where they have changed quite a bit. And now with MBK long gone, he's really the only experienced voice on the team. Aside from Frozen, I suppose you could say that maybe he's doing some secondary calling or something. But if either of those two don't pull their own weight, then this whole leadership for this whole roster is going to collapse. And
I mean, Exertion also told me in an interview at the RMR that he's not fully comfortable in specific situations either.
Imagine that against Outsiders being uncomfortable. And you're just gonna get more uncomfortable. It's
exactly
the worst feeling. Yeah, I just think matchup wise, this is it. You know what's kind of weird? I actually think Maus is more like it without this matchup. If you just kind of said like who's more likely to make it out of the group, Maus or Outsiders, I might have actually said Maus, but I just think Outsiders in this matchup are just better, like pound for pound. Just makes sense.
I'm surprised to hear you say that, man. I was even when I watched your pick'em videos, I was quite surprised that you were kind of even at the start of the show you said right after the two clear favorites in Vitality Cloud9, you slot Maus there. I would have taken a different stance where like if you put them in the pack with like what were the other ones? You said like Furia, OG, and then Maus. I even put Maus at like the tail end of those other two.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
and I know dude, you're the guy that got me to believe in James. So I'm surprised that you don't see Outsiders. I mean, think about Outsiders, bro. This is like a playoffs team, or not always playoffs, but like playoffs pro league, right? Top 8.
Yeah. They beat Furia. They beat Furia at it. It's just like, okay, truthfully, I'm not sold. I think their map pool is something that people aren't exposing them for at all. Like I with Outsiders, they just seem like they get really lucky with. Okay, so I'm actually going through all their Rotterdam stuff. They didn't have to play Overpass one fucking time. It's their worst map by far. And they never played it. They never played it at Pro League, and they never played it at Rotterdam. Like, I don't get how this keeps happening for them. No one's picking it, and it's just like they're weak on it. They're literally just so weak on it, and yet I don't know. With Maus, I don't see the same flaws. I guess so that's kind of a. And I'm just not sold on like Norbert. Honestly, I don't know. I think he's okay, but. And also Fame still is learning some of his positions too. Like sometimes in deep, where Outsiders win is like mid-late rounds where it's like James just makes the right call. They set up in this way that just everybody can play off of each other. But I sometimes just see this team kind of losing defaults a little bit more than I used to, and that's where I don't love. That's where I don't love them. But I think Maus's caliber of players is actually Genuinely, I think it's higher. I think it's higher than Outsiders because I think JDC and Exertion would be the weak guys for Maus, but I don't see them losing in defaults like Norbert and Fame have. That's my observations.
I'm glad you went further on them, bro. Just because,
okay,
you know, like I've seen you abandon big, so I need to make sure that you still got that passion for Outsiders. It's there, but I think that's like what I was saying too with Mouse, man, where it's like the ceiling's there, and just I don't know. I see them tail end getting to legend stage.
Yeah,
that's all.
Okay.
If it came down to another, like obviously it wouldn't happen because they already play each other. But if it came down to Outsiders Mouse, like in a matchup or whatever, in order to make it like it was a 2-2 matchup or something, I would take Outsiders there too. So I just feel like Mouse is a lot more fragile, despite question marks around Norbert and Fame. I'd say Norbert is really the main question mark of this roster. I think Fame is actually a lot more solid than that. He might still be a question mark on a gradient or something, but I think he's a lot more solid. I think if he just tags along with Jame as he has in a lot of these like, you know, post-round situations or like a post-bomb plant or whatever, like that to me is like, okay, he's solid. You know, he just needs to be micromanaged a little bit, and I think Jame can handle that. So honestly, yeah, if Norbert can maybe play up to a little bit higher level, or everybody else just goes lightning, like you were talking about, Alex, where you were saying like, oh well, obviously Kicker has done really well in the past and stuff. Like if we got that going on for us, I think Outsiders actually make it through to the next stage, honestly. So it is going to be very dependent on form, and that's like a cop-out answer in some ways. But this is this whole challenger stage is like there's a lot of teams that could, you know, draw blood. So.
Dude, I just looked it up also. Outsiders have only played Overpass one time with this lineup. Over like 4 months. They've only played it once. I watched it and I was like, this is really bad. Like this just can ruin this team, and they just never like I guess Overpass is kind of out of meta. All right. Next.
Well, listen, they'll never play it in a best of 1 is the crucial point. So they will never see it. They will never see it until maybe a best of 3 if somebody who's playing them in the best of 3 watches this show and gets to that point of the analysis. So
I know they have to basically pick it because they're always going to second phase ban it though.
Yeah.
So 0-0. No. Sorry. 9Z versus Gamer Legion. 9Z Gamer Legion. Okay. 9Z GL. Where are we at with this one, guys?
This is another hard one for me.
Gamer Legion.
I'm thinking Gamer Legion, but it is a hard one where like 9Z have the puncher's chance. This is still probably like a 70-30 or a 60-40 or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I would say it's closer to a 60-40, but I don't know. The 100 pages of research that Gamer Legion are going to have. Well, no, for just 9Z.
Oh, it's just 100. Only 100.
Please,
guys.
Yeah, per team, obviously.
So who said this again?
It's someone from Gamer Legion, not one of the players. I think it was like one of their staff, one of them like
analysts or assistants.
Or assistants, yeah, exactly.
Where is this? HLTV?
RMR.
No. They told it to me at the RMR, like while I was
okay.
like taking the winning video and whatnot. They were just like they were talking to like one of the ESL people who printed out 1,000 pages for them, and they were talking to me about it. And I was like, 1,000 pages? They're like, yeah, 1,000 pages. I'm like, okay.
There you go.
I feel like that's the kind of person who just gets paid based on how many pages they like
it's
surely like whatever you have written on 1,000 pages you can condense to 800
at least.
At least, you know.
Well, it's paid by the word, right? It's like 1 cent per word.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what the hell?
That's a weird one.
1,000 pages is actually just I struggle to even find out like what or even imagine what that is.
Single-sided pages.
Yeah, that's still 500 pages. That's not like mix. If you had to put together a huge report on one team, how many pages do you think that would take you? Like 20, maybe 20.
Maybe like 20. Like
like that sounds right.
Like a report or like just doing like normal anti-strats, right?
Yeah, anti-stratting. The most I think is 20, and I think going over 5 is a waste of time because nobody's going to read it.
Yep.
Yeah. Let me go find one.
Here we go.
Well,
one, and I'm going to see how much it is.
20 pages on 15 teams. That's still like a decent. That's not close to 1,000. Don't get me wrong.
It's still not 1,000. It's still not 1,000. So that's why I'm just like, what are you talking about? What are you doing? I think what
At
like his uncle.
147 in round 6,
Yeah,
they
right.
threw a flashbang off of a wall. And
But then that's
Maybe
still
they
only
had
one
to,
line
like-
of words. That's still
Maybe
only
they
one
had
line.
to reprint like 500 pages. Like maybe they did 500. They're like, oh shit, we fucked up, and they print another 500, and then they called it 1,000. I don't know.
Actually, you know what? Is it possible that they printed out 1,000 divided by 6, so the coach and all the players have it, and then they have.
Oh, that's possible.
Yeah, and then maybe is that what we're doing? Because then
that's
this
still
is like
167 pages if we round up.
Just one map.
Still-
One map.
Yeah, but 15 teams, so 11 pages per team.
That's still so much.
That's so fucked
So
up.
typically, like one map of prep for like one team. So just focusing on a single map is like 2 to 3 pages, kind of just depending on like
Okay.
how I do it and
So
generally
they
how much I want to
they
write down.
prepped all 6 maps for all 11 teams, and then and this is still saying that it's a 1,000 divided by 6.
Yeah, that
I
makes
can't.
sense.
I
1.8 pages, 6 times because of each map, times 15 for your opponents, times 6 for each player and coach. That's the formula. That's it.
Do you need 2 pages of map mix? Help?
Yeah, usually it's
Okay.
probably at least 2.
Okay.
So 60 that's like 1.8 times 7 for 7 players and the coach and 1 for who gives a fuck, and then 6 maps.
One to give out
And then
to
75
Make-A-Wish
pages.
Foundation, Yeah.
Someone,
It's still
someone in
only
chat
75 pages.
Someone in chat did make a good point, saying
That was
CS
11.
players have bad eyesight because they play so close to their monitors.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know. So they need 24-point font. This is possible.
Okay.
we haven't talked about the font.
Yeah, so
4-inch margins on each side, man.
From size
Okay.
11 to size like 20. Do you think my teams will play better?
I'm just taking that as hyperbole. That's
Yeah.
all. That's all I can do. I'm
Yeah.
sorry for lingering
I
on it
would.
because
I would as well.
I just can't fathom why anybody would say that. That's
I just had to
1,000.
mention it because it's just so wild hearing that.
Yeah, I almost just want to say he meant 100, because then I'd be like, okay. That's,
Oh no! I asked specifically if he meant 1,000. He said,
Well,
yes.
now
But
I'm back.
There's something wrong with that. Like that. That's all I'll say. Like I don't know if there's like some.
So I was gonna
What?
say I made a small edit and my anti-strats are now 5 pages long.
There you go.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna add that to my credit.
There you go.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Good
I did
job.
5 pages in 72.5.
20 size font.
All right, I'll bring it all back to the actual matchup. 9Z Gamer Legion. Let's just say something for fun here. Who do we think is the best player in this matchup?
Oh.
Acor. Or Max.
Wow, really? Mm.
I'm probably
Acor
gonna
off
say
of
Acor
RMR
too.
form, but
Yeah,
I'm
Acor
I
if he
still-
comes in with the same form.
I'm still not. I feel like that's fraudulent. Like he was dropping 40 or something in that phase match.
It was crazy.
Although I will say, if you didn't tell me that and you just showed me the Kerrigan v Acor 1v1 clip, I probably would have accused Acor of having like 8 kills in OT, because what the fuck was happening in that clip? I don't know if you guys remember that, but it was just
Yeah,
whiff,
I remember it.
whiff,
Front page.
whiff.
Oh, it's burned into my memory.
Yeah.
Yo, hold on. The thing is, we say like, okay, it will be Acor if he brings in RMR form, but I think if Acor doesn't bring in RMR form, there's no hope for Gamer Legion.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah.
Is that like you
Yeah,
look
that's fair.
at the players, and I mean, Shuhei can maybe be good for
Hey,
a
yeah.
map, but it's got to be Acor, or else this is 9Z's win.
I know you guys are on the HLTV pages, but I would like to say before I go pull it up, I actually can't name all the members of Gamer Legion, so that kind of usually tells me that this is a team that's not going to make it
Why I
very
had to
deep.
pull it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Admittedly,
Yeah,
same
that's-
deal for 9Z, and they were playing in the NARMR, so you'd think I would know that, but no, not really. I remember Try was pretty good. Oh, never mind.
Oh, yeah.
Not quite. No, this is 9Z versus Gamer Legion is all team can't remember their names.
Yep. Yeah.
like who the fuck? These are
And that's about it.
these are the guys. Dude, someone say this guy's name on 9Z. I've never heard anybody pronounce his name.
Here we go. Let me
I've
look it
literally
up.
never
Which
heard
one?
this guy's name. Davidus.
Sure, that sounds right
Yo,
to me.
it's honestly,
Close enough.
when he's in server, it's just David.
Yeah,
It's probably Davideus or something like Deus.
Davideus.
Or
Davideus.
I don't know how you. Yeah, I don't know how you would pronounce that, but I know, like, there's obviously a pretty big religious undertones to a lot of the South American culture, right? Still, so that's probably I'm thinking Diaz, whatever.
He's from Chile.
I like how
a lot of religion. It explains their other player, Buddha.
I can't.
DT, QZ, David US, and then they just have Max.
Yeah,
Max.
Yeah.
Dude, Max is probably a name in the Bible somewhere. You don't know.
Oh god. Yeah, I mean, who
Never read it,
but get on that, dude. 1,000 pages on the Bible, Scrawny.
Yeah.
Andy Stratting Jesus, and not enough about outsiders.
Okay, let's go to the next one. No, that's it, right?
Yeah, that's
it. I've got a gut feeling here that I really need to let out.
You have a huge clue.
Matchups. I stayed silent as you guys were making this prediction, but I do just want to say that Imperial are going to beat Vitality in the opening rounds.
Oh my god!
And I will look like a genius. So
in a weird way. No, in a weird way, if this were Imperial Cloud9, I'd be like, maybe, but dude, they have 3 major winners on Vitality. Like, they're not gonna choke, and they
Spinks
have like,
does.
And they do have Zero.
Spinks can
does.
choke, but ZywOo doesn't. Dude, ZywOo can single-handedly beat Imperial.
Yeah,
like
well,
for real.
It's just gonna happen.
Maybe.
Dude, ZywOo will single-handedly beat them. Like,
He could have single-handedly beat Astralis.
Fallen's going to outfrag ZywOo.
That was online.
Oh, right.
But there's nobody on who would be the blame F on Imperial? Fur? No. Just no chance. Like nobody can do what Blame F did in that series versus Vitality that he did.
Okay. Inferno. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that was just shit was crazy. That one I lost my mind. Okay.
Hold on.
Yeah.
What about Cello? Remember what he did versus Complexity on map 3?
Yeah, that was actually disgusting. That was
Overpass that was like watching Blame F. It made no sense, dude.
Dude, Cello was playing like honestly,
crazy.
the mechanics he had in that game were the most online shit I've ever seen. Like I haven't people don't move like that perfectly on LAN. They just don't. Like they don't think about it all that much. Yeah. That's one worth watching back. I think a lot of people watch
that map. Outside of that map, I wasn't blown away by Cello.
So, yeah.
So that's the anomaly. If it happens, if it does happen, I'm saying it's because of Cello.
Okay. Yeah, Nick, so you have any...
I can clip the what I just said for lots of impressions on Twitter, so...
There you go.
Sure.
You can.
You just... Yeah, that's...
And then you just add the Brazilian flag in there, and then a fire emoji.
Yeah, just do something like that. Just... I don't know. Anything to pander.
Yeah,
eyeballs.
Anything to pander.
Yeah.
Eye emoji.
I need more followers. I need help.
You can maybe do the 2 fingers together thing.
Okay, let's move on. Let's go. So I wanted to actually talk about this HLTV article that Nero wrote about flashes. I don't know if all of you guys got time to read this article, but there's kind of like a non-conclusion conclusion that comes out of this. I don't know if note resident HLTV forum poster and actually posting on the news portion of the website.
I've never posted on the forums, I'm pretty sure.
Sport mode users unite.
Yeah. Then what did you gather from this? I'll put something forward after. You say something.
I mean, I don't know what you're looking for. That's a very open-ended.
Well, okay. So what did you gather from his article? Like, did you read it? Because I figured you would have just because you're the HLTV guy.
I mean, I read parts of it. I think it was while I was at the RMR, so I didn't get time to. Or wait, was this
is
today?
it came? No, it came out today.
No, I have.
Oh, you didn't read it. Okay.
I read No. I know why, because I read it while it was in our drafts, but not when it was finished. So I read part of it.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
I haven't read the full thing yet.
That's a convenient save. So okay, I'll put it like this. What Nero puts forward is that flash assist is kind of, I wouldn't say he didn't say it was like a worthless stat, but it's one that you really need to know what you're looking for a little bit, because he kind of uses multiple stats in multiple directions about flash assists and flashes, opponent flash times, flashes thrown, and he kind of puts forward a couple cool lists and a couple cool charts that kind of show who's doing what well. And I think what I gathered from it is that he says don't use just the FTU flash assist thing. Like, don't go on HLTV. Don't just look by FTU. Which team is flash assisting the most? This team is good because of that. That's generally like a bad way to look at it. And I'm going to agree with that. Like, because what I've said in the past and was like, he kind of lightly referenced this without saying my name in the article. Like, Cloud9 has come under scrutiny before because of their flash assists. Like, I wonder who he's talking about said that, but let's.
Scrawny, how could you?
So self-absorbed, man. I just think.
Literally, Cloud9.
For sure, though, is this, I thought that article was like in response to you. That's how I read it, man.
Yeah, I kind of read it a little bit like that because Cloud9, their at Cloud9 CSGO verified Twitter account for Cloud9 added me immediately and was like at Mauisnake eye emoji or whatever whatever they did.
You started this narrative, man. 100%.
Yeah. So what he put forward was I'll say this chart was the coolest actually in my opinion. It was do flash assists matter, and it showed round win percentage scaled against a y-axis of flash assists, and there is actually between I guess he's showing top 30 teams, top something he didn't say, but I'll just say top 30 teams. There's a negative correlation between flash assists and round win percentage. So the teams that flash assist the most are per round are actually not winning as much as the teams that don't flash assist as much. So what I want to put forward though is that if anybody reads this or looks at the chart, what you're going to kind of see is just some weird outliers in a couple directions that make this very odd, because you look at some of the teams that we consider the best and most consistent teams, and they're all in the same range. And this is kind of like where my point stemmed from, is that Prime Astralis, when they were winning all those majors, always had like 0.22 flash assists per round. Like, it felt like it was the sweet spot. And I would never say like having 0.35 is something you need to aspire to, but I would also say if you have as low as 0.1, it's really bad. Like, that's kind of where I've always been with this. But it just so happens that when you scale it against top 30 teams, it goes down in a negative line, or there's that negative correlation. But then you look at some of the teams that have really good flash assists, and it's like Sprout and Entropic and a Godsend team that I don't even know if they exist anymore. And then you have on the other side, you have like Cloud9, which is a huge outlier, and they just have barely any. And Furia have barely any also. So like, I'm not like sold on it. Like, the negative correlation exists, but it seems like it's very much because of these outliers. Because you look at all these other consistent top teams, Astralis, Maus, Fnatic, Vitality, Navi, FaZe, they all have between 0.22 and 0.24 flash assists. Like, basically exactly the same. Like, they're all in the exact same region for that. And so what I was kind of just what my idea behind this is, like, I don't think it's definitely not a negative to have more flash assists, but it's just like, you just want to have like this strike the right balance. And when I got on Cloud9, it's because they just didn't strike the balance at all to me. They were fucking not flashing.
Well, the thing about a team that has like 0.35 flash assists is that I feel like if you have that many, you're probably pretty trying to find the right word, like probably very readable in terms of just, like, how you're moving around the map. Like, that was actually something I remember. I got onto like Rogue, right? Because when I would like message MSL, like, one point I made was that like they were very set in like how they use their flashes, where like wherever they flashed is like always where they were taking map control. Yeah. So it was just pretty easy to like understand how they were like moving around the map. And just, you know, for me, like when I set up a team, like I think about the nades we're using like to start up the round, there's going to be someone that's usually probably designated to like on like overpass, right? It's probably just throwing them towards Fountain. If you're on T side, like you're just throwing them towards Fountain because you need to like establish something each round. And most of the time, a lot of times that flash isn't actually fucking doing anything. You're kind of just doing it for consistency.
It's conditioning.
So like, especially on like an individual level, it's like very hard to read like who's good at flash and who's not, just based off like their individual stats. Because for some people, like they're mostly just using their flashes for the same thing every single round. Whereas like on fucking Mirage, right, you can just toss them over mid on CT side and probably just farm flash, like flash time, opponent flash rating, because like people are always around top mid and you're just gonna get blind by it. But yeah, and other teams like Oppers and IGOs especially are often like saving their flashes that they can use them at late, like during an execute or something. So yeah, just based around like how I've at least set up like flashes on my teams, it's just gonna like vary between like what flashes are actually important. And obviously sometimes you'll throw the same flash that's done nothing for like 12 fucking rounds, but this time you're actually using it and you know it's getting you like super fast map control, things like that. So flashes are like one of those things, like it's like you said, like there seems to be like a pretty good sweet spot. And then like for example on like the old C9, like the South African C9 with like JT in them, our flash assists was like super fucking high.
Yeah,
but we also kind of like but like we also kind of like relied on them as like a crutch, and like it was very easy to like read what we were doing at times, I think, because of that.
I haven't seen this in the article, but I have also not fully read it. There is an obvious case that you also have to make that not all flash assists are created equal, because I mean, I don't know how HLTV tracks it, if it's just using game integration. The game will consider
not just
it,
game integration.
Okay,
it's not.
It's not.
So how do they determine when a flash is basically faded? Like, how do they basically make it so that it doesn't count as a flash assist?
They actually, I think, parse the game so much so that it's like it's almost like as accurate as it gets, where it's like, I think, like the game will register like the flash is like an 8 out of 10 effective flash, so that's going to blind you for say 2.5 seconds.
Yeah.
If it's in that 2.5 window, and I think I couldn't tell if they did this for HLTV, but I would say it's like 2.5 plus 0.5 or something like that. Like if it's like 3 seconds off of an 8 out of 10 flash, that's going to give them a flash assist. But if it's like a 1 out of a 10 flash, you're almost not going to get a flash assist from it. So these are like essentially, this is essentially more accurate than like seeing the thing at the top of your kill feed that says plus flash.
It's far more accurate. I don't know like the specifics as to how it calculates it in terms of like how effective the flash is or like that specific thing, but I do know for a fact that like the window of time that the in-game flash assist gives from popping to the one that HLTV uses is like substantially shorter. Like we use like a much smaller time frame for when the flash initially pops to compared to the in-game one.
Yeah, well, I mean, you lose some context, but what you need is basically like, was the player actually blind during the time that they died? I think that's probably the safest metric to use, and I'm not sure if that's what HLTV do, but
I think it's that the thing is, for me, that's also harder to measure purely statistically, because like, for example, it doesn't have to be that the flash is what caused the person to die. Like you could flash an opper, they come off an angle, and then they try and re-peek afterward when they're not blind and they're dead. Like in your eyes, does that count as a flash assist?
Well, it should, but I'm not sure if HLTV tracks that, is what I'm saying. I don't know what they're doing.
Neither do I. But this is what I'm saying is like stuff like this is also just hard to qualitatively measure, right? Also, for reference, by the way, Alex, is that when I read this article, none of these graphics were actually in the article. Okay. That's why.
Okay.
Sorry, I think I cut Scrawny off.
No, I think you just raised a good point where like you're talking about like, flashes aren't always necessarily about getting the kills, right? It's about forcing repositions and stuff like that and creating errors. So it's like, I think what this article ultimately does is it does reaffirm that like it's a difficult stat to use to, point towards success or failure. What's weird is, again, like tying it back to like how you criticize Cloud9, Maui, is it's like, you use statistics to support your argument, which is a good thing to do. And your argument, I think, was still very strong, regardless of if you use statistics or not. If the eye test is also like connected to the argument you're putting forward, then it. Hold on, I lost my point. It's like, I don't know. It's just an article that basically makes me believe in something I already believed in, which is like the flash stat is a weird one. Nobody was ever going to live or die by the flash stat. People weren't judging, like a bunch of teams based on this one sole statistic. It's like, this feels, again, that's why it felt like a response to me, because that conversation really started with your Cloud9 criticism. And then this is like a weird post where it's like, well, actually there's an opposite correlation. I'm like, well, I don't want to take anything from that argument either, because again, it just kills the flash assist statistic. I think that's what effectively has happened here. Is it's like, it's harder to base any arguments around that now, because I think flashes are complex.
I want to put this forward too. Like, this is a weird article, and I messaged Nero about this too. Like, if you look at why this graph is skewed such that it has a negative correlation, I almost just take out why is Entropic in this when they haven't been relevant for 4 months? Like they've been out of the top 30 for 4 months now, and Godsent hasn't had a team for like 5 months or something. Like, I'm just kind of like, why are those outliers? Well, these teams are clearly outliers on this graph, and they kind of really help the negative correlation thing. because they aren't really even in the fucking top teams anymore. So I kind of wish like just take out Entropic, Sprout, Godsent. Sure, leave BNE because they're they made it to the major. Leave Forza because they were 2 and 3 and they've been semi-relevant or something. But
I mean, Sprout made it to the major too.
Legend stage, we got to leave it.
Okay, true. Keep Sprout if it's this iteration of the 5-man lineup or something like that. Or I don't know, because like if the teams are like dead or like the old rosters, like were they even top 30? Like then
it's also like, weird that like Gambit and Cloud9 are two separate.
Yeah, why is Gambit and Cloud9 both in here? Like there's a couple things that I just find odd about how this data is posed, but I also think that like the thing was never my argument for Cloud9 was like never because they are the worst flash assisting team, they are bad. It was that they should have more flash assists, and they are the worst flash assisting team. Like that's kind of there's a slight difference in that posing it like that I'm trying to make sure is abundantly clear here, because it's not a 1-to-1. It's never been a 1-to-1. It's just like they could be better, and if they're better, they'll do better. And then at Dallas, they had middle of the pack flash assists. They won the whole tournament. Like they were in that 0.2 something range, which is like what seems to be the golden number for flash assists. Like I almost would, if I have to make a strong flash assist take right now, I'll almost say like you really want to have between 0.2 and 0.25 to win tournaments. Like I think that's where it is. Like too much is bad, too little bad, but like just right number.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but like one of the original points you were making with this whole thing is that they don't use flash assists for map control. They kind of just like jiggle angles. So it's not necessarily to do with flash assists for kills. It's to like take control of a spot versus like jiggle peeking into it slowly. Like if I'm not wrong, that was like one of the points we were making initially too, which this doesn't really factor for.
Yeah. So they use flashes to like sometimes push people off of angles so that they can gain a little bit of space. But what I've hated the most about their flashes is T-side site execs were bad flashes. Like they literally just missed the mark. They didn't blind people. I think I think it might have been actually Mahone. No, I really can't remember who it was. I think someone made a YouTube video. No, it was C9 Win. C9 Win talked about Cloud9's flash assists, and he showed with examples how bad they are at site conversions with flash assists, which is something that I pointed out too, where I was like, you can get Axile into Con, you can have Shiro at ramp, you can have Nafany coming from like Palace or something, I don't know, whatever. You're just converging onto Mirage A, and then I specifically remember them sometimes just throwing one flash, a team flashing one of their guys, and then they tried still running in and just died. And I was like, they are just terrible with these. Like, it's just like, whereas Big is just going to throw that one god flash that just blinds the whole site and no one's going to get blind and they're going to take it. Like that's why I like watching Big when they're good, and Cloud9 can frustrate me at times. That's also part of my point with this.
Before we move on, I should mention we are having a bit of an NA internet moment on my end. So if we can just reset the call real quick, I'm going to hop out and I'll let you know, guys, when we're back. So just give me 1 second here. All right, we're back, and hopefully everything should be returning to normal now.
Could also be on my end, just red flag.
Yeah, I honestly thought it was on my end.
Oh, were other people also experiencing buffering? It could be just a general Discord thing.
I think it's just Discord.
Yeah, I assume there was
Discord thing.
Multiple.
I'm gonna switch the server.
Yeah, go ahead.
I made it US East.
Okay. Multiple people were buffering independently. Like it was Mix, and then it was Scrawny, and then it was Maui. So I just assumed it was on me, but maybe it was just Discord. In any case, we're back. It seems good.
Cool. Okay. Well, I liked. I did like something that Nero did in this article, though, just because I want to give him some props. I'm not trying to like just crap on it. I've liked most of his articles too, by the way. What he did put together was this one about individual players, where he kind of like made it more about opponents flashes, like he's comparing flashes assists per flash thrown. I think that's a really cool stat.
That was the takeaway from the article.
Yes.
Agreed. That was like a lot of it was like okay, and then that piece I was like, seeing James and Cadian at the top of that list was just reaffirmed.
Do you mean the one where it has like effective high quantity, ineffective high quantity, that kind of stuff? Or which one are you talking about? Oh no, never mind. That's it.
No, I think it's assist per flash. No, this is the one actually. Scrawny, I'm talking about with try on top, because it's showing like assist per flash instead, where it's like because basically like Cadian will get more flashes per round, I think. So his is sometimes a little bit inflated.
Okay, right.
And then you'll see that like try or someone like say, well, it doesn't really matter honestly who you pick on this. Yeah, like OC doesn't throw as many flashes necessarily, and Apex is actually just better marginally. Like those guys are assist per like 0.13 assist per flash per try. Like imagine over 1 out of 10 of your flashes you throw get somebody a kill. That just seems crazy. Like that seems really powerful when you have a couple guys like that. Obviously, it's by design. It's more by strats and stuff like that. But if there ever ends up being like a CT side outlier for this, I think that person is just like the best teammate ever. Because CT side is so much more about just like is like, hey, wait, I'm gonna set you up with a flash, boom. Like, there's some round starters, but so many CT rounds break down where it's just like this dude is in pit, and then he sees that the T's are probably wrapping arch side, and then he's like, yo, site player, I'm gonna flash above library, just swing into it, and it just blinds two people and they get the kills. Like those kind of guys, I think, are really, really so valuable to have, and that's why Rop's 0.00 flash assists per round. By the way, that's where I'm just like, how is he not ever just saying, "Hey, I'm gonna flash for you"? Like he plays pit on Inferno, or like he's playing A side or pit on Inferno a lot of the time. It's like, dude, there's a lot of flashes you throw from there, but it's okay. Rop's haters will like actually come into my DMs now, but it's okay.
Also, you're saying like to give Nero credit. I just want to say that like regardless of whether the actual like breakdown in here is effective for determining the stat or not, it inspires like good conversation like this, which I think is like something that's like really fun to have, and not something that you could have unless someone writes up something like this as well.
Yeah. Like that's another thing. He's put together a few articles. I think like one was about age. I think about players. And I think that's something like when these articles come out, especially during these kind of quote unquote dead times where there's not really much to talk about other than just getting hype for the major, then it inspires a new conversation, which in turn can lead to actually hopefully positive change, because maybe a CSGO dev reads it. Maybe he writes something about in the future A1S versus A4. That could be an article. And then something like whatever. But then maybe it could just like lead to the game getting better balance. Something like that.
Did you just say CSGO devs might read something? All right, let's go. We're going to prepare a 1,000-page anti-strat about CSGO so that they can fix the game. Let's do it.
The CSGO...
we got rated by HLTV, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Sick. Wow.
Excellent time to talk about fantasy then.
There you go.
Okay, yeah, let's do it. Let's actually do it.
I don't mean to hijack it, dude.
No. That's what we were going to talk about next anyways.
Oh, okay.
We were going to talk about fantasy next. So we actually do have, as all of these guys are hopping on in, we have the number one celebrity fantasy player right now in Scrawny. That is Connor Scrawny Gervin. Oh my goodness. You are actually killing it right now. Yeah, I actually want to go over this because I don't know how many people really play this. But we've been really on top of it. We've been how many? It's like a few thousand. I'd say it's like 5,000 people per like pro league week or something like that, right?
No, more
like,
than that. Definitely more than that. Definitely.
Yeah, it was up in like the
generally
8,000 to 9,000.
How many?
If not
generally
more,
over 10,000. Yeah, when the season started, it was.
You're
10 to
11,
10 to 12. But a lot of people, I think, do it right before. Right before the event is when it really pops up. Like if you're doing your drafts 3 days early, then there's like 4 or 5K.
I mean, I can just tell you right now that the European RMRA 12.7K people played it. So this is a pretty sizable amount of people are playing this, and Scrawny's got a knack for it. So Scrawny, I want you to try to break down some of like the big tips. Like I want the clickbait here. I need
advice, like really bad.
I need the big fantasy tips from the man that's leading the way right now.
Okay. You know what? So here's like preface this with just like, this is the first time I've played fantasy. This is the first season that I've actually followed it because, you know, HLTV put $1,000 on it. So
that's humble of you.
I'll nerd out for $1,000. You know, I'll take my shot. And if I wasn't leading, I don't know if I'd have like continued. You know, like shout out Moses, who played 3 games and then just stopped. He just gave up. You know, got 0 points at the start and just shied away. But I mean, when it comes to fantasy, I think that things I've learned quickly are definitely be up to speed on the format, right? Like the format is literally going to change who you are kind of shooting for, right? Like it didn't actually end up working out in Showdown, but I think it would have been the only winning strategy if you look at the Blast Showdown where it's single elimination. You basically had to pick 2 teams from the favorite of each side of the bracket, right? Yes. So you're basically majority of picks would have been 2 players from Vitality, 2 players from Heroic, and then you would have gone for like your X factor in whoever else you thought gets 1 win. Contrast that to Pro League groups where I think I was doing much better. In Pro League groups, you were guaranteed a team is going to play, you know, 4 or 5 matches. So when something like that happens, I think that suddenly you start shying away from necessarily teams who are going to win. You actually want a team that might have longer games, but has like a standout performer. I think that's what happened with me for, you know, I farmed with Flamesy. I flamed with, this was RMR instead of Pro League, but I you know, guys like Nikados. You want teams that struggle, but players that are always trying to like get that little carry in, right? So
how about make it relevant to the upcoming challenger stage that's happening. Like I think people are probably looking at this one. This would be a great time for a lot of people to try fantasy for the first time because you're already going to be watching the games. So if you were jumping into the challenger stage here, and we could kind of actually just go over this a little bit now. How would you
trying to get our secrets?
I was gonna
trying to get my fantasy team.
The lead is thinning here, dude.
Okay, we don't need to go over the. Okay, so how about this? I'll ask you a series of questions, and you just kind of answer with, and maybe tell me why you would do this. So, should a player, in your eyes, in the upcoming challenger stage, a fantasy player, should they pick 2 people from like good teams, like 2 Vitality, 2 Cloud9, and then say 1 OG player, or do you think it's even better to pick 1 Furia, 1 Vitality, 1 Cloud9, 1 Maus, 1 outsider, something like that?
Yeah, the strategy I've gone here with, or the strategy I've gone with here, is not doubling up on teams at all. I haven't doubled up, just because if you do have a team that gets through too quickly, and you don't, like let's say I think Cloud9 is a great example. Cloud9 could be a 3-0 team. If you pick a player from Cloud9, they're all generally expensive unless you're going for like inters with a support or the potential, Nafany around the same price tag. If Cloud9 go through 3-0, and as we saw inters and Nafany kind of return to their median form, if that happens again here, then you're getting a team that only plays 3 games. So you're getting 6 points per win. Maybe you get roll points, depending on what you apply. But if you don't have any big pop-off game from those players, then you're getting a player through to the next stage. He's going to net you like max 20 points, 25 points. And in a format like this one, I don't think that's really the best of ideas. So I would spread it out currently. I'll tell you what I did actually straight up. Like I went for a stable player on teams that I think could go 3-0 twice. And then 2 players that I think will carry a team who struggle. So, for example, I've got Hobbit and Yuri. Okay. So I think in Cloud9 and in Furia, those are 2 teams that are going to go through pretty quickly. Yuri has now descended to a lower price of Queserado because Queserado's Pro League performance was really that next level. You have to remember Yuri is the most stable player on that team. So if he's a little cheaper, then you get those extra, bucks. And Hobbit. Dude, Hobbit's always good for like 1 map. I feel like especially with the BO1s, that's where I look at Hobbit as kind of, getting in a 25 kill game maybe. So those are the stable picks, right? Like there's no way in my mind either of those 2 players are gonna not make the next stage, nor will they play too poorly. They're safe bets. Then I go for like the 2 picks from teams that I kind of hope struggle, but I will expect to frag out, and that's going to be Flamesy from OG and Nikados. Right? Fnatic and OG are in that second pack of teams where you'd expect them to go through. And dude, Flames right now is playing through the roof. His multi-kills are crazy. The RMR proved that. Again, I think he's kind of like, he's coming back to the peaks that we once saw, like back at Blast when OG beat FaZe. So that's a safe one. And Nikadaz is also always stellar. But again, teams that play more games, right? I'm hoping that both those teams actually get through at like 3-2 or 3-1s. And then you need the cash cow, dude. You need somebody. You got to pick somebody who's bad and who's cheap and who just hopefully doesn't lose you too many points.
Okay. So
right now, if I had to put a name to it, dude, Cold Zera is 177,000.
Cold Zera is a bargain.
Oh,
Cold Zera is a bargain right now. And and again, returning to a crazy good, like returning to what we've never seen before, plus crowd buff. So to me, I did Cold. I did Cold as the guy who frees up enough money. I don't think you could pick Zywoo, but Zywoo right now is like 240K. You've then got to pick two players that are very well under 200,000, right? Because that's always the median for the price tags. It's just not worth it, I don't think. Once they get that big, I'm the kind of player, I always like to get the guys that are just a little over 2,000.
I think I balanced my team pretty well in the end as well, to be honest.
Let's hear it.
And, so I grabbed Inters as my support and kind of cheaper end there. And then I wanted to go for like stronger riflers and then like a slightly cheaper opera. So I actually thought Fallen at 196 was a pretty decent bargain considering like his performance hasn't been awful.
Sure.
And for an opera to kind of have someone on the cheaper end, I thought that was good because then I went with Flames, Tabson, and Yuri. And I thought like as three riflers, that's a pretty solid core of like fraggers who I think will be able to get a good chunk of points throughout. And they're also not teams who are going to go through immediately, most likely.
Who'd you get from Vitality? Did you get anybody?
Nobody.
You didn't get anybody from Vitality. Wow.
Not worth. Not worth right now, dude.
The prices are just way too high. Like they're number one ranked, so the prices are going to be higher for all the players. And I don't think any of them in every other event we've played in recently for fantasy, I've gone with like Megas. I think I've taken him, and he's gotten me a good number of points. But like, it's just not worth over like getting Tabson, who I know is going to be the main point farmer for big. Like Yuri is going to be one of the main point farmers for Rio. Like I think it's just like there's statistically better picks than anyone from Vitality in this event.
Okay. All right.
Maui, let's talk about your fantasy, dude.
So I did a lot of. So I'll say this. Like basically, when I started playing this, I didn't really read anything. I just kind of just picked because I thought this is just fun. I'm just going to see how my guys do. But then I implemented a lot of, I think, the worst strategies, which is why I'm off the top 10 completely. Because I did pick two people from. I basically overvalued winning. I actually didn't know how many points you got for winning. I thought winning just gave you a lot of points. So I was always trying to pick based off of like who I was predicting is going to just win tournaments and who's going to just win every game. So now I've learned that doesn't really matter that much. There's a swing. There's like it's 6 points. So essentially a 12-point swing based off of a win or a loss, which is sizable, but it's not as big as when someone does really well, or like if someone has like a 1.2 rating, that just offsets that completely, or someone has a 0.8 rating, it also offsets it completely, which is why you don't really want to get someone like Apex or Kerrigan that often, because even though they do win, like win points are just not that valuable at the end of the day. So that's my side of this. I also didn't really I get boosters, I get rolls, but I think I just read numbers. I just literally click all the numbers on them and I just see high percentage chance of this activating. That's just kind of how I click these, honestly. I don't really do too much more than that. I kind of think about matchups a little bit, like if I think like what, like the headshot percentage thing, I honestly just don't. I don't even go there that often though. I just make sure when I'm playing fantasy, I just get the Rubet Cup cut thing in, like the Rubet points. Yeah, I get the easy 5 in, and I also just get like top of scoreboard, bottom of scoreboard, because I just feel like that's usually kind of easier. But
the thing with rolls that I learned quick is that it's there's some rolls that are just not worth going for. You know, like unless you have anomaly players like a twist, hedge, like the headshot, whatever. The activation rate on those is so incredibly low. It's like the Clutch King. You know, like there's a couple of players that you think could justify putting that on, but generally those players are still going to have, because you only, there's 5 roles you need to select and there's 12 to choose from. I'd say like half of them are pretty irrelevant. You know, the big, I think the key ones are, you get a main op.
Yep.
even in a loss, you know, a main op is 5 points generally if they're really buying out. You know, there's a few oppers that don't always rely on it. Cadian is a guy who like, you know, I think it's like somewhere in the 70s or like low 80s. Compared to Jame, who I think it's like 95% of the time he's getting you 5 points just because he always gets kills with the op. So, you know, like main op, you want to always shoot for an op for that reason. Except for if you get like a weird event where it's like they're just overpriced. That happened at Blast, right? You'd like your choices were like Zywoo or Cadian.
Yeah.
Then leader's a good one as well, I think, and that's one of those things where it's like if you just read the name and you don't really just think about it for 2 seconds, like it says leader, so you want to put it on your IGL, but I mean it's just based on if they win or lose. You just any player that's playing for a good team, you just make them a leader, right? Because again, it's you can't get small bonus off of it, but there's a few players that are, you know, you never want to get away from the mean. I feel like leader, defender, op, those are the 3 you always use. Then you can go for support or multi-fragger. Maybe you go for like an entry fragger, like Yakinder entry fragger is always good for points. You could do like James Stat Hunter. You know, there's like specialist picks really, but
I would say like noob is probably one of the worst roles you can apply. I've used it once and it was just like immediate regret.
People pick Apex and then they just put noob on him. But I'm like, if you look at the numbers, like again, in order for noob to activate, it's a rating below 0.8.
That's so bad.
You know what I mean?
Just so awful. Yeah.
Also,
it's like,
also you're kind of screwing yourself because you're essentially then picking a player who's going to get you negative points for doing poorly, and then you're like the only way you're going to make points off of them is getting a noob role. It doesn't add up well for you.
But mentally, you just think like, I put noob on him, bro. It'll even out. I'm like, no, it's just not worth your time.
Right.
I wish. I will say. I wish there was an HLTV. I wish there was fantasy without boosters. You know, if I could like refine the system, I think, you know, boosters are cool when they pay out, but there's this. It's a bit too random. I think like it's cool to pick your players and then pick your roles, and that should be enough to, you know, that should be enough for people to place. You're not going to get mirrored points, essentially.
Yeah, so usually, actually, when you play like fantasy football, like for tiebreaker stuff in a league, usually there's like a thing where you actually just predict, basically like if there needs to be a tiebreaker, say like between a couple people, it's usually in playoffs at least, you pick like the teams that you think are going to be there and like the exact score line of the final Super Bowl. So like that serves as a tiebreaker if there needs to be one, because I kind of agree. Like I think like boosters, I found just like okay, the fact that there is literally a 5 point for free booster kind of shows how dumb this like system is, that they can use it as a sponsorship little insert like in a point boost thing, like where points are all you're playing for. Why are you getting free points from a sponsor? Like that just feels a little odd to me. But yeah, I don't think they're a bad idea, because basically they want to incentivize people to keep logging in every day to like keep doing the boosters. I get it from like a website capitalist point of view. You fucking get people on your website, they see more ads. Like that's it.
I don't mind the boosters. I think if there was less of them overall to apply and you had to distribute them like more strategically, I wouldn't mind that.
That would be cool.
Because like for me, I tend to save like certain boosters for best of threes. I think that's just like generally the better practice. So like for example, like Saver, 30 Bomb, like some of those like you want to save for best of threes because they have a way better chance to activate. Like I think if you had to pick from less of them and you had fewer opportunities to distribute them, it would make them a little bit more tactical, to be honest. Like I think there's so many right now that, yes, you still run out of them if you try and apply all of them for an entire event. But like, if I could only pick like 2 to 3 players per round to apply a booster to, it would add like also a little bit more of a tactical element to that for me.
I think some of them should be refined, right? Like I hate this one. It's the Kobe, where it's like a player gets 2 or more grenade kills on a map. And I can sit there, and again, like, you know, there's a certain type of player you want to put that on. But I could sit and watch that player get, you know, 500 utility damage across the map, but never get 2 kills, and yet you don't get rewarded for it, right? So it's
it should be like a UD
utility damage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, that's a bit of a weird one. That's I guess I said that like there was more of that example, but that, whereas like you compare it to the flashes, you know, it's like actually flash assists. It works out a little bit better. Like if it was, you know, utility, I don't know if you could even track that, but like assists based on utility damage. Like, there's a couple that need to be refined. And then there's some that are just like sort of bogus, like a knife kill or an ace. Like the chances of that happening it's funny.
They're so slim.
Some seem so like you can use them so tactically, and then on the other side of the spectrum, there's ones that are just total chance.
Choke is also like so hard to like. How are you going to possibly predict like somebody choking 15 like whatever?
The amount of times
I mean, Liquid 2019 was reliable, to be honest. You could
there it is.
You could get a few of those.
The amount of times I've put choke on like a game that I think is going to go to OT, but then it's just like their opponents are the one that get 15 first, and then they bring it to OT. It's like, that's the most grueling. But all in all, it is fun. And I will say, like, shout out HLTV for getting us involved with this because, I mean, this isn't, I don't know, this maybe like says something about some of my work ethic at times, but like, I will say I have watched more Counter-Strike that I am not a part of the broadcasts because of fantasy than ever before, right? Like I watched every single group of Pro League, whereas normally I would have just been watching the playoffs, or like a specific matchup here and there.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're a madman for doing that. That's crazy.
But it's a good way to keep you
with
a little
fantasy,
bit more engaged. If you're somebody who's
fantasy,
not engaged, it helps. It's
as someone who's like watched CS for so long, it's a good way to like kind of incentivize. Like it gives me a stake to watch some of the matches that I wouldn't have otherwise. At least for me, like it reminds me of back before I started like being like working in the scene when I used to like bet on matches. And obviously I can't do that anymore, but this kind of gives me that kind of like same fun feeling of watching the matches and being like, I don't care if this team wins, but I want this player to like do well, So
I've caught myself casting games, and I just see like, Shush doesn't get his 2K on the hold, and I'm like, oh wait, got to compartmentalize that. Like, it is the closest thing to CSGO Lounge since I've lost the ability to gamble.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll agree. That's a fair point. It's fun.
If you guys just go to esports bet, you just do it with crypto. Oh, sorry. Okay, let's.
Okay,
there it is.
Just kidding. Not that you couldn't, for all you fans out there, but this podcast is not sponsored by esports bet, so I don't know why I'm plugging them here.
Not yet.
Yeah,
not yet.
Yeah.
There you go.
Not yet. Right. Okay. I think that's a pretty good discussion about fantasy. I think we're we don't need to. Does the Patreon? Why is it?
Yeah, it's hella broken, but
I'll find it and I'll post it right now. Okay.
What's
Just
broken?
for people.
The
There's
Patreon command.
Oh, I see.
I think Nightbot is not working actually.
Nice. Well,
that might be it. Okay. Well, either way.
If you don't want to support the show, go to Patreon.
There you go.
I think we can do. Okay, let's do basically bold. I listed this as bold preds for the major, so I'm not saying like you don't need to do anything like stupid, but like if you have any thoughts, now's the time. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get another episode out between the challengers and legend stage. It just depends on scheduling and stuff like that. So let's just say this. How about we just kind of do it like this for bold preds? Okay. For team which beyond Vitality and Cloud9, I'll ask a more interesting question, and you guys see what you have the answer for. But beyond Vitality and Cloud9, what teams do you think from the challenger stage have a good chance of making it to playoffs? Like who would be your picks there?
The playoffs. So through
the
legend
playoffs
stage as well.
So through yes.
Okay.
So I already kind of went out earlier and I said Furia. Actually, I put Furia pretty high in this because I just think that they're going to start playing a little bit better than they have been in the past. And I just think like what they did at the RMR was beneath where I think they really are. And the thing is that what they did at the RMR to me also is it's just not the biggest indictment for me, where you lose one map to EG, like, and then you win every other map and in pretty convincing fashion. Like really, honestly, like they smashed pretty much everybody, and then they lost a map to EG, which is a team that when I put my Pick'ems video out, they probably just did not give a fuck about EG. They probably thought this team is the same trash team that they've been for forever. Yeah. So I think they kind of got caught off guard there. But then they look at the teams they beat. They beat Infinity, who were probably the worst team at the entire event, 16-2. They beat then Oplano though, 16-2, and then they beat Pain 16-8, 16-13. Like these are pretty confident wins. And Pain went 3-2, by the way. Like, so I think Furia is actually rising to the occasion. I think they're finding their form again. So I put them as mine. So, but I'd want to hear what you guys are.
I'm going to say I don't think Fury will make it to playoffs. I will say Outsiders and Fnatic are the teams that I would say might have a chance of making it. I'm not going to really confident on Fnatic, but I'll say Outsiders probably do top 8 in this event.
Ooh, damn.
Wow.
Okay,
If right, I think
I would have said.
Go.
Sorry,
go.
I would have said Fury or Outsiders. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Fury and Outsiders.
Nope. You have anything spicy?
Honestly, I would say Fury and OG. I give OG a fighting
That's
chance.
the one.
OG?
Yep, that's the one. OG.
Wow.
OG. So I think that to hijack your point here, dude, because I think that OG is the one. I mean, again, Furia, Outsiders, and then if there is an anomaly, maybe the OG run can somehow come into can come through. Degster is a major playoff player off of Antwerp. Again, I think Flames is just absolutely banging at the moment. And
he's practicing like extremely hard and has a lot of confidence in his game right now.
And dude, I mean, OG, dude, they've got a best of 3 win over FaZe already this year. I think that was very legitimate back at Blast, and like then they get these, they're hot and cold. There's some weird things that go on.
Yeah, how do they lose the wings up?
Like, yeah, exactly, right? Like something like that happens, and I'm just like, what? But like when they show up at events, right? They had a good event in Lisbon. They had a good event at Blast Groups. Both of those are like studio LAN environments. And again, my money's on Fury or Outsiders, but if I had to pick a third, then I think OG is the team over Fnatic or over anybody else. Yeah.
I'm surprised. I'm a little surprised people are just so in on Outsiders, honestly. And I'm like, I think Jame is a sick IGL. I think Jame might be a top 5 IGL at this entire event, actually. But I just still don't believe in Norbert and Fame. Like, I think other people, like, I don't think they are fully, completely integrated yet. Like, I think they are getting it, but it's not the same as when it was Buster and Yakinder.
I didn't mention Outsiders. I just said Furio or OG. Outsiders is like probably third on that list for me, but I would give Furio OG the edge in terms of like surprising, or not surprising, but like making the playoffs.
So no one said Maus. So no one put forward Maus.
I'm not even sure
Top
they're making it to
Cologne.
Legends in the first place, dude. You got to remember that.
Top 4 Cologne.
Astralis.
Okay, all right.
Astralis.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, that's
Movistar Riders. Although they were.
Did you say Maus, Alex?
No, I wouldn't. But I'm just kind of surprised everybody's so off of Maus.
I don't know what it is.
I think Maus are a little better than we're giving them credit for. Like, I have them as a team to make it through, but yeah, I don't think they're going to make.
So many of them are ex-academy players is the problem for me. It's like these guys are not blooded yet, so I can't really back them. Whereas Outsiders, by comparison, I mean, talk about blooded. You can talk about question marks for Norbert and Fame like we did earlier, but I still feel like that's money right there. That they can make it through. A lot of it does depend on their draw, but I mean, even saying that, if there's ever a close game and you're talking about big crowds, big pressure, big stage, like they could make it. I mean, they might not even stop at top 8, but I'm not going to get that crazy.
For Outsiders?
Yeah. Who else? Let's go through the whole list, right? Who's making it to playoffs? Vitality, Cloud9, Navi, FaZe, Liquid, Outsiders. If you're going to count me in, who are the other remaining teams?
Dude, I think Furia are much more likely to make playoffs than Outsiders are to make top 4 for sure.
Also, there's no way you're going Liquid and then saying Furia or Outsiders top 4. I don't know
absolutely
about that.
Am, dude. Oh, ENCE is another team that might make it to playoffs.
No, there's no way.
Well, ENCE could make it to playoffs because they're in the Legend stage, but
they could. I'm saying there's no way he's saying Outsiders top 4.
I know I didn't. I said I'm not going to get that crazy.
Heroic.
But if you if you mapped out all of the teams, right? And I said Heroic and ENCE were the last 2. Yeah. So if it's Liquid, Heroic, ENCE, Outsiders is the crazy one. Navi, FaZe, C9, Vitality. If that's our playoff bracket, if that's our top 8 minimum, then I honestly think there's some low-hanging fruit there that Outsiders could have a nightmare upset. It really depends on who it is. Like, I think they could dispatch Liquid if Liquid are not on the right game. So, but again, that's like a 1 out of 8 or 1 out of 6 chance or whatever. So yeah, odds of it happening is pretty slim.
I don't know about
that. Okay, let's do this. So another fun one. This is just no one's saying this is your prediction forever, but for this major, who do you guys think are going to be top 2? It's a super wide open
And he's gone.
Oh, he's out.
Hey.
There you go. All right. Well, then we have carte blanche to just talk about whatever. So in that case, obviously the top two are going to be outsiders.
So I actually think Mauisnake is going to predict Imperial to make the finals.
And he's not here to say anything else. So I think, yeah.
Exactly.
This is also like the most Maui freeze frame I have ever seen. This is how he talks 80% of the time.
No, there was a better one a while ago where he was like this. And we all matched it.
Yeah.
We all matched it. So that was a good one.
So the finals will be Liquid and Sprout.
There it is.
Dude.
Thoughts?
I actually, unironically,
I hope.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, Mix. I hope you know this part's staying in the VOD, so
Yeah.
that's on record.
that is on record. So I will say
Are Imperial beating Vitality and Liquid and Sprout in the finals.
yeah, those are your two clippable moments. I'm surprised you didn't say. Wait, no, you did. Okay, never mind. I'll say. I'm amazed you didn't back Liquid with your homie OC though. I gotta say, what's up with that?
What do you mean? I am.
Are you?
I said Liquid and
Oh,
Sprout.
I thought
in
you
the
said
finals.
Imperial. I'm confused.
No.
Okay, never mind.
I said Imperial will beat Vitality.
Oh no,
but
Imperial is
that doesn't mean-
Mauisnake's
yeah.
imaginary pick. That's why.
But it's the moment you said Sprout is when I didn't believe that was a serious answer.
Yeah.
So Liquid and actually who?
Okay, Liquid is the obvious one. Like, I'm just gonna go. Not like whether or not I believe that, I'm gonna say it because I'm
That's
just
fair.
full homer for OC.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Man, who
Do you
I
think?
the-
Do you think Maui knows he's disconnected? By the way, or is
I
he
hope,
just,
I
like,
hope he's still
going?
talking. I
Imagine.
hope he's
this
still
point-
really
at this
lengthy.
point, he
He's
must.
like, oh, you guys are really stone faced. Maybe I didn't make my point well enough, and then he keeps going. No, he's 100%. He's gone. Is he?
Oh, there he goes.
I
All
like
the cameras
Liquid
are now
answer.
messed up.
Hey, I'm still in the right
Um,
spot. Scrawny could kind of be if he moves up a little bit. And Mix is now the captain. Look, move to the right, Mix. Move to the right.
Okay, guys. So next topic. What were your guys' favorite moments of the C9 Colossus?
When it ended.
You and me both.
No.
Liquid Navi. What do you guys think about that as a finals?
Oh,
I was thinking Liquid Phase.
I was also
Right?
I was thinking Liquid Phase as well as a possibility.
But dude, FaZe is it's weird, eh? They've been sketchy.
Yeah, they haven't.
Their RMR was sketchy.
To be
I
fair,
mean,
no one's
it's
really
RMR,
convinced me for
but-
the finals, but
It's a tough one. I feel like this is the most open.
I mean, FaZe have
I-
been sketchy, but so is like every team. It's kind of like, and the thing with FaZe is that when they get into those kind of games where like everything's on the line, they are always the ones who like kind of have the tenacity to come out on top. Like, I think if every team is facing that same kind of pressure, I do trust FaZe to like overcome it more often than not. So like for me, that kind of like lets me lean into them just kind of edging it out. But I don't know. Like this is probably one of the hardest brackets to call in probably a few years.
I think especially with like Sprout and
Oh.
Spirit still being in the
Oh,
Legends
welcome.
stage already. Hey, Maui,
Yeah.
nice to see you.
Yeah.
Just because
I'm
it's
not-
like, you know, I don't know. It's so open, dude. From the first stage to the end, it just feels really open. But you said everybody's sketchy. You know who hasn't lost a match yet? Alexi B's Ninjas in Pajamas.
Ah, yeah, of
There it
course.
is.
That would be a fun playoff run, I think.
so is that your finals prediction?
No,
Might be.
I'm sticking with the.
Oh wait, yeah. I want to. Okay, can you guys go back over your finals ones quickly if you already said them?
Yeah,
I
you
wanna-
said
We said
Imperial.
your prediction
Yeah.
was Imperial.
Oh no. Okay. No. What's
I settled on Liquid Phase.
Liquid
Oh,
Phase?
that's-
Okay.
Was that? I totally zoned out because I was trying to fix the cameras earlier. Okay, all right. We'll absolve Mix.
Pronogo, what was yours? Mix was Liquid Phase.
Liquid Phase. I'm gonna just say Phase. It's harder for me to back Navi right now. Maybe Phase Vitality. Phase take it either way. It doesn't really matter who they place. They win this whole tournament.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Note. What have you got?
I also had Liquid Phase, but I'm actually gonna take as a close second possibility, like a Cloud9 Liquid final.
Yeah,
Which would be a banger.
I thought about that for a
Cloud9
second as well.
Liquid final.
Yeah.
That'd be sick.
I can't believe so many people are doing Liquid in top 2.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I'm not okay.
It's because there's no commitment here that
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think.
yeah.
I would.
Yeah,
But
sure.
if I had to say, dude, I'm gonna take the Antwerp rematch and go FaZe Navi.
Could be it.
Okay.
Could be it.
Okay. I'm doing Navi Vitality. Navi Vitality is mine.
Ooh,
actually.
Vitality. Dude, they got to get through challengers first, man.
Yeah, but I think there's no way they don't make
Oh,
it
you
through the
think so?
challengers.
Oh, you think so?
Come on. They got
1 to Imperial.
I'm
like I
a-
said, and
Remember,
then
everybody
they'll way back from that.
clip this
Perfect.
moment when Imperial do win that first
Yeah.
BO1, dude.
I
there.
will say one thing that I do really like about this major is that there isn't like a scenario where you had it in previous majors where like, oh, if like FaZe and Navi don't make the final, it might not be exciting, or like if like one of these teams doesn't make the final, it's not super exciting. Right now, you have like 6 to 7 teams who could all be very like good candidates in a grand final.
Oh yeah.
To play against each other, which for me is like that's a really sick prospect going into a major.
Yeah. Okay. How about this? Are there any teams? Okay. I think when you say 6 to 7, you mean FaZe, Navi, Heroic. Is Heroic
Well,
there?
Vitality,
Cloud9, Liquid.
Cloud9, Liquid. It's 5, and then I would say like probably follow up just because it's a home crowd, Furia,
Okay.
and then yeah, I don't know, like Heroic's probably like on the edge there. But yeah, it's just the fact that I don't know if like Heroic Furia would be as exciting in terms of that, but like out of the first names you mentioned, like yeah, any of them making the final would be sick, and playing against each other like that. It's just there's a lot more options for an exciting kind of final clash for me, which I like, because you're not going to have the situation where like one upset in the playoff bracket makes it like, oh, like okay, this team's just going to kind of win now. Like there's not, and a lot of those bracket matchups even outside of the grand final will be exciting. It won't just be like okay, like this side of the bracket's lopsided, etc. Unless some like really shit seeding happens after the Swiss stage.
Yeah, I hope not. But yeah.
My bold prediction
Okay.
is that this is not the last dance again. They just keep getting that money. Never ends.
Yeah. I think it's very, very possible that we just get more and more dances.
Yeah.
I've called it an endless waltz before for Imperial. Yeah. I mean, do we care? Like, I mean, is this like is it again? Is it hurting us if they keep playing? Not really. Like,
Hurts
it's
my eyes
cool.
sometimes.
I think this would be the most poetic place for it to end.
Yeah, that's
yeah, it
true.
should. It should.
It
I
should
think
end here.
And if you want to go
It should
that
end.
angle, Rio obviously should have happened 2 years ago, right before the whole pandemic hit.
Yeah.
So if you want to go that angle, they stuck it out for that, and
They
that's
did,
the reason
yeah.
why.
I mean,
you know,
look at that interview Fur gave after the RMR, right? Just saying like he wanted out
to quit,
before
yeah.
the RMR. He wanted out.
Yeah.
So like the fact that they even he went and played it, and then now they qualified for it. It's way better than obviously those players just like coming for like fan activations and showing up as a team that couldn't make the major. No matter what their run is now, I think even if they fall in challengers, dude, it's like they play in challengers. There was a crowd there. It was this historic moment for them. It's kind of the perfect place to end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually, I think it's in a lot of ways incredibly admirable that Imperial did this. Like, I did not think of all the things that are already going so well for them in their lives that you don't need to care about Counter-Strike anymore. Like, Fallen is managing such a massive brand now. He's like, I think some people in this space, like some talent or like, just they say like things like these guys suck, like they don't play well, like they're washed, but like they did legitimately qualify, and they actually like upped their level from like basically irrelevancy. Like Fur was total trash on all these teams for like 2 years, and then suddenly he's with Imperial and he's like maybe their best player, and then even like, well, like Cello kind of got poached from MIBR, but I'm glad to see that they actually made an upgrade. Like they actually weren't just like, yeah, we're gonna stick it out with FNX. If they have FNX as a player, they're not here. So they actually made a move to actually become a better team, and that's what we want. We always like criticize so many big orgs for not making that move, and it's like Imperial made the move. Like they did what they needed to do.
The one criticism, though, they made a move to improve, but they definitely didn't improve in terms of a coaching department.
Okay, well, sure, yeah.
No,
he doesn't.
but I mean,
I don't think FNX talked one time with any of the pauses.
He literally had his microphone up during every single time. I've never seen a less engaged coach ever. It was quite. I mean, but again, like it's cool that they're doing it all together or whatever.
Just think about it. If he hadn't been their mascot, no FNX, no major again. That's crazy.
It means no.
I'm pretty sure that is the exact reason that he's their coach, though. Like they could have gone with anyone else, but it's just the no FNX, no major meme.
And again, like if Imperial, if some of these guys continue on, like it would be really cool for Cello to ride whatever this wave is and move on. Dude, there's no way FNX keeps sticks around, right? Like again, it feels like it was all for this.
Yeah.
Well, I think they've even said that he, like, as far as the announcement for him moving into a coach role was, like, they only specified for the RMR and for the major. Like it's specifically not like phrased as a permanent move.
So again, it just feels like this is when it should end, man. Sometimes things in esports go sometimes things in CSGO just like they exist longer than they should, and then reputations get tarnished, and it's just like RPK should not have retired after losing to 9Z at a Blast Showdown.
No.
So it's like I'm happy that this one might end the way it should. And then maybe a couple pieces, another shuffle, keep going. There's good looking Brazilian teams right now that I think the players who still have some in the tank should be able to get.
Also, like, you're going to release Vinny and Cello or not release, but, like, you're going to have them able to, like, play with better, like, long-term potential players after the retirement. So I think that's also just a good prospect in general. Because they're both two, like, very talented Brazilian players who I think, like, could actually be good pieces in the long run on teams. So...
On the one hand, I can't imagine another major where the show match is announced and it features players who are ostensibly going to be in contention to make it to the finals in the first place. That feels very cynical.
That's kind of weird.
On the other hand, that is the perfect time for them to announce retirement. All the legends come back for the same show match. And at the very end, they say, thank you. It was a great career. Thanks for all the money after I should have retired 2 years ago, and I'll see you later. And that's how they can close their career out.
I think this is kind of like me. I don't know if anybody's saying anything about this. I think this is in some ways the sickest show match for people that have actually been fans of CS for a while. Like, dude, these lineups. The only thing I would have honestly wanted to change is maybe like with Team Sweden, because Team Brazil is literally LGSK.
Yeah.
Team Sweden, if it were literally just old Fnatic or old NIP, that would be kind of cooler in my eyes. Because instead, Team Sweden is like a mix of NIP and it's a mix of Fnatic.
It's the biggest stars from both rosters, which is, I think, still does the job.
It's still good.
I would have preferred Fnatic over NIP. Like, I wouldn't even put NIP in the mix just because that was like one of the biggest rivalries back then. It was kind of like always an exciting matchup watching LG play Fnatic. So I think like NIP wouldn't even be in the conversation for me, but I see why they did it. Mm-hmm. But like, slot in Pronax as coach instead of Exists, and you have like something else there for me as well. Like, it's just like that would have been a really good matchup. Regardless, it's still like a really cool throwback composition on that end, at least.
Well, the question for me is it going to be a legit match, or is it going to be like that weird half legit, half Zeus shotgun match that we saw in the last major, which I was just like, what do you even
No, that was the last major's show match was pointless. Like, it was I'm not going to lie, I actually enjoyed it because I was on the desk for it, and I was on the desk for the show match and then the grand finals.
I'm thinking about it now, and I think both of the PGL show matches were basically the same thing in that they were like just like a sort of exhibition, but
why was Nico Dawes in 2 show matches in a row? What's the point? What is this guy doing?
Got a nice hairstyle, I guess. I don't know. I wonder if he's given up the goose on that, because for a long time he was saying, no, guys, it's Nico Odaz. And that nobody ever wants to say that on broadcast. So hopefully he's just accepted his new name.
Yeah. Okay. What are we getting to now? I think we're getting to... Are we just going to do Patreon questions?
I think so.
Okay. Then let's do it. We only got a couple here, so this shouldn't take too long, and then we can wrap this whole thing up. Spruce Moose asks, would you make changes to the op magazine capacity or total ammo?
Yes.
I mean, I guess I would, but I feel like it wouldn't do that much.
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm at.
Total ammo wouldn't do much. I think the magazine size.
Yeah, make it 5 instead of 10. Make it 5 instead of 10, and you instantly can't be shooting, like spamming through stuff as liberally. Which is I
like the idea of 6 or 7.
I was thinking 7, honestly.
Yeah. Because 5, like you're saying, like it kills the spam. If you have 5, it kills the spam entirely, right? But I want to see somebody able to take 2 shots and then still get the 5 bullet ace. I want that to still be like this unicorn of Counter-Strike where that's a possibility. With 5,
I guess that's true. The problem
the reload
with
is,
I see where you're coming from. My issue is that spamming is just intrinsically like the least skillful way to kill somebody. You know what I mean? And like it's called spamming. And I feel like CS has had a spam problem since the smoke meta, since the A1S, since it's and since Ancient and Vertigo were maps in the map pool as well. Where like obviously if you remember back in the day, Vertigo when it was just this spam fest on A ramp, like that was kind of the time where people started keying into that maybe spamming is just not super great, and it's like just crazy and by nature very chaotic, and it's not really where you see like the skills that are tested everywhere else. And now it seems to be kind of like a global issue. So anything that hampers that for me is an improvement, and that's why I was going to go more hardline. Also, 5 just feels more like even. You know what I mean? Like
I just think if you make it 5, you make it too punishing. Like not just the spamming, but like if you have 5 players coming out of like a position, you miss one shot, you're like you're possibly fucked. Whereas like if you have 7, if you miss 1 or 2 shots, you still have a chance to like pick apart some of them. Like I think that 5 is like you're basically gonna make it way too punishing as like an overall kind of deal. And 7, you still have the potential for like, let's say you're playing on like A ramp Dust 2, like you have players coming up cat and long, like there's still like a kind of like battle op kind of scenario where you could miss a shot and recover and take down players. But 5, like you miss a shot, you're kind of fucked, right? Like you don't really have time to do much from there.
Well,
it's hardcore though. I do like the hardcore angle.
I prefer that for not just the hardcore angle, but also you have to remember you're very rarely solo holding against 5 as an opper, and even if you are, you're dying anyway at the top level. Like 5 is plenty because you're really only going to be picking maybe 2 or 3 if you're really good, and then your riflers can cover the rest.
I would say maybe if you make it 5, you increase the reload speed very, very marginally.
Yeah, that's fine. I think it already takes a bit too long as it is to redo it. But the reason why that's not really a problem right now is because you have so many like base ammo, right? Mag size. So
what is it in Valorant? What's the mag size in the sniper in Valorant?
5.
So we make ours 6.
4. I'll take the under on that.
Because we just want to make it better.
Yeah, well, there was something that Valorant did that I thought for sure would have been an improvement if Counter-Strike adopted, but I can't remember what it is. It's something to do with the it's the fact that abilities that you can just revive your teammate. No, 3 bomb sites. It was something like the people who are saving don't get money over in the next round on the offensive side. I honestly think we need to do that in CS, or significantly reduce the saving, like the loss bonus if you're still alive, because then you instantly don't have the CT save economy that everybody's talking about. Right?
I was actually listening. So I was listening to Talking Counter last night on on my way home.
Oh yeah. That's what prompted this for me.
Yeah. So one of them mentioned like they were trying to figure out how to fix the economy, and I think they were kind of following on similar lines where they're like they didn't have a loss bonus idea. I think they had I can't remember what the exact solution or thought that they had to come up with it. Or I think they were talking about like increasing bomb site explosion radiuses more so that like Ts are forced to exit further and earlier, etc. But honestly, I think like one of the solutions in my eyes that I don't think I've seen people mention is like, yes, there's people who talk about like 0 save bonus for CTs, but what if you just half the saving, like half the round bonus if you're saving as a CT? Because I think like the CT economy is kind of punishing already, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's the reason that the CTs still get money and the Ts don't. Like it would be very punishing to just remove it. But if you just half the amount of money for CTs if they save, like that's still a punishment. Like it's a trade-off that you're making, especially if you're losing. Like if you have full loss bonus, you're gonna lose like a substantial amount of money.
How much money do you get, Mix, when you save in Valorant? Do you know how much you get on like CT? Like if you don't go for the defuse?
I think it's just 0. I think it's just 0.
Really, just 0.
I'm not 100%, but I think it might be 0.
Really? I feel like it's like 1,000 or something.
The Valorant economy always confused me.
I posted my overall thing that I was saying is that not only it wasn't just the $0.
Oh, 1,000. So
it's 1,000. They get 1,000.
You earn 1,900 for a round loss and 2,400 for 2 round losses in a row.
24 for 2 rounds in a row.
And then 29 for 2,900 for 3 rounds in a row. But if you survive like any round during that span, it's only 1,000.
Okay, I kind of actually like that. let's just steal that, honestly, because I don't. There's certain teams that do go for retakes a lot. Like, I know there's like been a little bit of this back and forth. Like, I think AZS says this, and I don't think it's necessarily true, because if you watch a lot of Inferno games, you won't even notice this. But like, what some people say is that like Inferno sucks because when they take A/B, no one goes for retakes. It's like, I've seen a lot of games where they go for A and B retakes in 3-on-3s. Like, they do it a lot. Like, it's just that some teams like Cloud9 and I'd say Vitality are pretty. These are like the worst culprits today. Like, they don't go for retakes almost ever. But like, even
dude, Outsiders
even
was on
like,
outside B site Dust 2, and they didn't retake when it was 15
Yeah.
to something, and they lost the map. Like, I really couldn't believe what I was seeing when that happened. But yeah, generally on the top level, you're right. It's just that.
Well, it's like on Dust 2, you can also like survive behind. If you have 100 HP, you can survive behind like car on B, which is like, it doesn't make sense because you're not forced to exit the bomb site, and there's no risk.
They basically should make it so that there's more action, in that there should be people that like have to leave the bomb site, and that people also shouldn't be rewarded for saving, like on CT. Like, it's almost like it should just bring, like, the economy should just bring people together for that. Like, okay, so Scrawny, really briefly to reiterate, just like saying that the bomb explosion radius should probably increase, and CT should get less for saving, so then people are just pushed together. Like, the CT should go for the retake, and the T should probably leave. Like, that's just how it feels.
That was one of the issues with what they said on Talk and Counter, in my eyes, is that they did I think they mentioned it too, is that they said that like, if you increase the bomb explosion radius, it does kind of punish the Ts in a way too, because like, let's say the CTs win 5 rounds straight, and the Ts finally like get into a bomb site, and it's like a 4-on-3, 4-on-2, and they're gonna win the round. But now they have to exit so far out of the bomb site, and you're just gonna get picked off a little bit. So even if you survive with like 1 or 2 people, that's super punishing for the Ts.
You're not saving utility for that exit either.
But if you balance it on the other end, like, you increase the bomb site explosion, so the Ts do have to exit further, but you have the CTs only getting half the money, or getting $1,000 or whatever. Like,
Zero to
kind
1,000.
of like, yeah, exactly. Like, you're balancing out both sides there, and I think that would like incentivize, and it also makes like the decision a lot harder and like a bit more tactical in that sense. Like, you might not do that on a 13-15 or like a 15 or 14-13 round or something, right? Like, you're not gonna have enough money going forward, so you might as well like try a harder retake.
Yeah, I would just honestly, I think everybody would just love it, like, from a spectator point of view, from most people that just enjoy the game, just seeing more, like, not having to wait 40 seconds after a bomb's planted just to know nothing's gonna happen, because that is too frequent in top tier CS. Like, even giving us a sliver of action, like, oh wait, hey, this guy wants to exit, and the CTs are like kind of thinking about this right now. Like, I don't know. Like, there's so many ways they could play this out. Let's do the other Patreon question, and then let's wrap this whole thing up. Okay?
I'm just gonna say, I hate 35 seconds on the bomb, and the CTs are already saving in pit. Like, that's like, it's just so boring.
As a play-by-play,
Yeah.
Absolutely hate those moments.
Well, well imagine too if the kill reward for default kills, but not the specialist gun kills, was increased. Then suddenly you're actually rewarding action and success in addition to just passively doing some action, right? Not saving. So if you actually go for the
so
kill,
you're saying like $450?
Yeah, $450 per kill.
I don't know if I like that as much.
I don't like that, because I think them like pistol rounds can get a little bit weird. I guess I think I almost just like. I'd have to think about it. I'll just say that. I'll have to think about that.
It's a far-reaching ramification. Anything that involves kill rewards is like that. But I think it's just significantly better if you're rewarding an action that has gone well for somebody, instead of like rewarding a player in any capacity for saving, which is a passive and like inaction.
Yeah. So one issue I have with it is that then I think CTs are still incentivized to save and get exits on Ts that have to run out of the bomb site. That's all.
But and on top of that, it also changes not just the dynamic of what we're trying to fix, it changes the dynamic of like the entire game in a way. Like, it is changing the economy as a whole rather than just affecting the save rounds, which is what we're trying to like solve for, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just another variable that was like I'm having a hard time accounting for it in everything else that
it's a complex thing
actually could work.
The problem is that I don't think Counter-Strike is globally in a good state economically. I don't think it's just down to saving. But yeah, if we're just talking about saving, then it makes sense why you'd have misgivings about that potential change. I just feel like when you have CTs who are already so heavily on the tenuous side, I feel like Ts stringing together rounds are almost always going to be able to full buy, as opposed to CTs, which like it's much more of a coin toss right now, it feels like. So
Okay, let's do the next patron because this is a long show. Let's get this one done. Okay, firsoch asks, final question of the day. A lot of people build the NA complexity pickup as a good budget roster back when they were initially signed in light of all the issues they had before with their international team. Have the junior and Halzerk lineups respectively lived up to this reputation of being good bang for complexity's buck? Did one fail while one succeeded, or have they both been poor? So basically, basically bang for buck. Is the junior lineup good? Is the Halzerk lineup good? Are either of them good? Yeah. What do you guys think?
Well, it's kind of funny because the junior one made the major and the Halzerk one didn't.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah,
That's instantly what I thought of.
Like way better.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. It's still hard to say. I say one way or the other. It's like, has this lineup succeeded for what it's intended for? I say it's been pretty average overall. Nothing too crazy. They haven't been too bad. I mean, they were pretty bad with junior for a bit, but still, I would say maybe even overall, maybe a little bit disappointing thus far.
Yes.
But yeah, I think there's still a lot of time with this to go with this lineup, and they'll have to figure out. I mean, Grim and Floppy and Fang have all, at least in the last couple months, I feel have looked better at respective times. Yes. But there's it also feels like one of them will be popping off and the others just go missing.
Yeah,
they don't have any consistency at the moment. And yeah, it'll still be. I feel like if this lineup still struggles a lot, I do kind of wonder what complexity is looking at with in terms of JT and things like that, because JT's rating is still not very good, and obviously they need to be winning games for him to continue establishing his own worth as a leader, right? So overall, I'd say a little bit disappointing, at least in my opinion. But there's been some positives, especially since they added Halzerk. So I'm really curious to see how they finish out the year.
I would rate the Halzerk lineup a little bit better than the junior one, but I would still put them both in I would definitely put the junior one as quite a disappointing showing in terms of what was expected of the team, given their extra salt form and what people thought junior could do on it. But I think the Halzerk one for me would have been considerably less disappointing if they at least made it through the Blast Showdown or made it to the grand final. I think missing the major was a huge mark on them, and I think that obviously really sucks, and the way that they missed out as well kind of just was disappointing for a team that was expected to make it through at their kind of level. But then I was okay, they missed the major, but then they're favorites in the Blast Showdown, surely they make it through with this kind of bracket, and then they just get first rounded by Sharks, and that to me was okay, now there's something to start kind of worrying about for this team, because if they're struggling against teams like that in qualifiers when it's really the only event that they have left to play for at a top scale for the rest of the year, that's concerning.
Yeah. I would say that to answer the initial question about bang for buck, funnily enough, the junior one is better bang for buck. Probably cost less, probably made more money with stickers. Yep. But I think we're all in agreement that the lineup looks better with Halzerk, that they, in some ways, probably just should have qualified for the major. And in some ways, let's not forget that this team actually made it out of Pro League groups. They were literally so close to beating FaZe in the first BO3. They almost did what felt so unthinkable, and then they choked. And it feels like right now, for me, when I look at this lineup, the biggest problem actually is mental issues. Yes. I think their tactics are good. I think they put themselves in winning positions against many teams recently. They beat Navi, BO1, of course, with Headtrick, yeah. But then they also, the fact that they were able to win 3 matches, they beat Ents, by the way, who are legends at this major. Ents was still forming, they were still getting better, but that wasn't a shaky loss. That was actually after Ents had 4 previous BO3s. They were finding themselves as a lineup, and Complexity still were able to beat them. That was impressive to me. They beat Heat, they beat Astralis. I don't think those wins are as exciting, but I think that you look at the junior lineup, and I don't think they would beat Heat. I don't think they would beat Astralis. So those are higher quality victories in my eyes, and they even at Blast, I'm pretty sure they took Liquid? Did they take a map off Liquid, or like they played them really close or something? Or
It was a map, I'm pretty sure, right? Or no, is that still the best of ones?
Sorry, they beat Liquid in a map at the Road to Rio, but they played Blast. Blast was a BO1. Blast was a 16-14 loss. But like
Vertigo,
they've shown that they're actually a team that like deserves to be top 25 in the world. You know, like top 20. They're ranked 18th right now, and I think that's incredibly deserving, even though they didn't make the major.
Speaking of what you said, kind of about them mentally, I just wanted to say is that I really think one thing like JT Johnny needs to do more is be like more aggressive, just like in general, like more aggressive if he's like talking to the team about what he wants to do. Just at times, because he's a very like laid back, easy to work with person, but I almost feel like it might be a bit too laid back, especially for the point complexity he's at right now, where maybe they need a bit more fire under them. You know, they need, especially because it needs to come from like JT and TC, because those are like the leaders of the team. So I think Johnny kind of like, if he could find like more of that, almost like a spark or like type of fire in him, like passion to like win these games, like, you know, fuck some people up, just be more aggressive overall, like even like outside of the game at times, I think it would benefit his team a lot. But obviously I haven't been with the team in like a couple years, so I wouldn't be able to like fully say like kind of like how he's developing at the moment. Yeah.
You're right. I think you're right, man. Look what Halzerk did to the team when he brings that fire, right? Halzerk did bring fire to the complexity lineup for once. Dude, look what it unlocked in Grim. We get this crazy performance out of Floppy. Fang, you know, I think Fang is like right there ready to be another like go get it kind of guy. But if we're talking mental, dude, you know, I'm always a critic of these kinds of players, and I think Halzerk, it comes with great things, it comes with bad things, dude. When he misses a shot, or like when he doesn't get that, I so vividly remember versus 0-0 Nation in the elimination game. It wasn't elimination. It was like to get through 3-1 before they had to play Imperial. Dude, he's like solo inside cave, B site Ancient, gets maybe 3 kills, and then doesn't get the 4th, and just freaks out and starts punching his chair. And I'm just looking at that like, man, that to me is just, it's weakness. It's an element of weakness where like, I love emotion. I love playing with emotion. And I think that you're right, Mix. JT should have some more complexity. If they have that guy, it looks good. Bro, that's such a missed chance. When I see somebody like start freaking out in comparison, I always just think, and maybe it's because like, I don't know, I'm wired as a pretty optimistic person. Yeah, you've got to be angry that you don't get that last shot. But that's when you take 2 seconds and be like, fuck. Come on, boys. Look how close that one was, right? Like, any of you can also give me that round. I'm sorry I didn't get it, but let's fucking go. And instead it's, and then quiet. Like, he just clams up. And it's like, you can't do that, dude. Because then anything that you were injecting into the others, you've also just effectively sucked out of them. Because then everybody starts to clam up and quiet down. And I think that's like the danger of those fiery players. And it could come with maturity, you know. Does anybody know how old Halzerk is off the top of their head?
I think he's like 23.
I'd be shocked if he were older than that. 22.
Yeah.
22.
22.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. 22. He's the kind of guy, by the time he's 25, I bet you he's got that balance established, you know? Like he kind of brought that same thing with Dignitas and it looked okay. And I think with complexity, he is unlocking it, which will effectively, you know, boost all the other guys. But to again wrap it back to the Patreon question, like as of right now, yeah, you're right, Maui. Fang was more bang for your buck because it was
Junior.
Junior.
Yeah,
it was more bang for your buck because it cost less. But missing this major is a huge fucking caveat. Like if they had at least qualified for the major, then I think we wouldn't even.
This is not a question.
Exactly.
It's not a question between the lineups. If they
give them one more cycle, you know, if they don't qualify for the next major, then it's definitely
panic
like,
station.
not worth it.
So if we're talking bang for our buck and we're talking about both of these lineups, if I could like ask a yes or no question, do you think it would have been more bang for their buck for complexity to pick up Copenhagen Flames back when they had the option between this lineup and that lineup?
Well, no, because Copenhagen Flames were asking for way more money, and it's not.
They had to buy out Grim from Liquid. They had to buy out all of the Exosalt players.
Yeah, that definitely played a bit for the complexity.
The buyout is a one-time fee. The buyout is a one-time fee. The monthly salaries, on the other hand, I'm sure are lower for the current complexity team.
Yes, correct. But regardless, if we're talking bang for buck, like that's kind of the end question, right?
Well, you can't guarantee that they would have made it to the major again, even though obviously technically the Copenhagen Flames team did make it to Antwerp. So
something to think about with all this is that like there's like some kickback for being a North American base org
Yes, there is.
in like the Louvre agreement stuff. Like I think
Yes.
either
Yeah.
EPL or whatever. So you actually get some money back from that. And also another thing is that with Complexity, because they're all like NA based and they have their boot camp in Dallas also, like I don't know if Complexity has any like facilities out in Europe, because just remember what Rush and Oboe and all those guys had to do where they were just in hotels. Like that's kind of like in a way costing them a lot because they just have to put them there. They have to like.
I think they prefer to be able to keep like everyone close to them as well. Like,
yeah.
So like the players being in Dallas rather than like just 5 people just out in fucking Denmark or wherever the fuck. So I think that's another benefit for Cole.
I think the thing is that with Copenhagen Flames would have qualified for 2 majors in a row sequentially. So I think like it's a better bang for your buck if you pick up Copenhagen Flames, but I think it just doesn't align with Complexity's goals as a organization where you got the Dallas Cowboy stuff you're trying to use, you trying to be this North American brand. Like it, even though maybe financially right now the Copenhagen Flames in the short term, I think Copenhagen Flames would have been the better bang for their buck, but they are trying to like keep themselves as a North American org so that whoever knows what the future of CSGO is, Complexity already has a foothold in the North American fan base that has proven over time like it's more valuable to have an NA fan base than any other fan base in the world. So
yeah.
Scrawny, are you there?
Yeah, I'm just trying to fix my camera, which has decided to turn off. But this is what you get now. That's all I have to offer.
No way, because we're gonna do shout outs now. Well, I usually maybe try to fix your camera so you can try to get your shout out with a camera on. But let's just start with Note then. Note, what's your shout out? If any of you shout out Scrawny, I swear to God. No, I'm just kidding. You can shout out if you want to. If you want to, you can.
I don't know. I'll shout out this random. I was playing Valorant for fun. I met this random guy in a DM lobby, and he keeps asking me about when the next server time podcast is going to be. So shout out to that guy on Valorant who enjoys listening to these podcasts.
That's actually really funny. Okay. Okay, Pronogo, what's your shout out?
Shout out Scrawny, obviously, because Mauisnake said there would be consequences, and also
I just said I swear to God.
Yeah,
well, that's all.
There you go. Well, I shout out Scrawny because he came in and stayed for a 3-hour episode.
Thanks, and, I know this is so
I'm saluting you.
Yeah.
You can't see me, dude, but I'm saluting y'all.
It's so low. This one. I don't know how this took so long, but yeah.
Because we haven't had one in a while.
Been good.
Also shout out HLTV because they rated us, so that was cool.
True.
And then I'll shout out, what's his username? Rio GTO in Twitch chat because he said, "Dang, liking this podcast, TY," and I think that's a cool message. So.
Okay, Mix. I'm trying to find this person's name, but okay, Mix. What's your
highlighted thing? Yeah.
I see it. Yeah, I see it.
Shout out OC because he's about to win the major. That's pretty cool. Glad one of us is finally succeeding. And also, speaking of Valorant, shout out to the random guy in a Valorant Spikers lobby I was in who proceeded to get my attention by saying Joshua, just like my full first name in chat like 3 times. I don't understand why he did that. It was kind of weird, but I respect it.
Joshua.
Just Joshua, just my full name, just in the y'all chat.
There's a lot of Valorant betrayers, Scrawny. I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have that shit installed, man. I don't know. I shout out you guys in Mauisnake. Shout out Mauisnake for taking me to the Regency Cafe. Shout out Mauisnake for taking me to the Fabric nightclub. No, just thanks for talking CS boys for a few hours because honestly, I'm looking forward to the major and all the storylines that could go down. And it's always cool to it's always cool to know that everybody else is just as invested.
There you go.
That's good. That's a good one.
Also, repeat appearance on server time.
There you
so
go.
I think
2x.
I'm a 2-timer now.
Yeah, you're in rarefied air with Yakindar. You and Yakindar now share something.
It's kind of the club to be in, I think.
It's very exclusive.
Yeah.
Let's see who joins it next, actually.
Yeah.
But we got to get some different guests on here. We're gonna get some different guests. It's just that our scheduling could be better. Let's just put it like that. We could be scheduling things better than we have been. That's
Next on the pod, Joe Biden.
We're gonna get 2 Bidens in a row. Yeah. Okay. What am I gonna shout out? I'm gonna shout out. Jeez, it's kind of tough to choose something right now. There's so much stuff that's about to happen. I don't know what I want to shout out that badly. God damn, it's really tough.
Got an OC like me.
I mean, I'll do some of the you must shout these people out for what they are. And that's Scrawny, of course, for coming on, obviously. I swear to God. I
swear to God.
I
swear.
Got 2 shoutouts too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 2 times.
Scrawny's
2 shoutouts.
Scrawny's been great company because we were in Stockholm together. We were in London together. We were together for like 3
Gloucester, baby.
weeks. Yeah, in Denmark. Yeah. And so that was all fun. That was super fun. I'll shout out. I also like whoever is the one that did the HLTV raid. Like that was awesome and really appreciative of that because that sent a lot of people our direction. Like I don't know, like this pod got a good amount of viewers like in the beginning on live, and then it kind of like it was like really really strong. And I think we took too long of a break, and then it kind of like lost some steam, and now we're trying to build it back up again. But it's like that's appreciated. It's appreciated. What else? Shout out to the Brazilian crowd, who I am not going to be pandering to at all
Of course
in anything
not.
I do in the future.
They are so admirable.
They are so admirable. They are so brave. They're so passionate, and they are admirable people. No spoilers on anything, but yeah, shouts out to them. They're a great fan base and deserve respect.
And zero toxoplasmosis.
Yeah, none of that. And I just want their protection. Okay, that's gonna be it for It's Server Time, episode 37. Let's get out of here, boys.